repeating such a conversation? My answer is that I do not have the right not to do so.
This is the most deceptive, vicious world. It is vicious, it's full of lies, deceit, and deception.
See, the Jews are all through the government, and we have got to get in those areas. We've got to get the man in charge who's not Jewish, control the Jewish.
Monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence, on infiltration instead of invasion, on subversion instead of elections, on intimidation instead of free choice.
The future does not belong to globalists. The future belongs to patriots. The future belongs to sovereign and independent nations.
And now, coming to you from the realm of reason, this is The Fetch, and you are live inside the eye. All right, everybody, from Riyadh, the capital of Saudi Arabia, this is The Fetch, and you are indeed live inside the eye. Today's date is Saturday, February the 14th, 2026, and a good Saturday morning to all of you listening up and down the Americas and on into Canada, and good late Saturday afternoon to early evening to everybody listening in European and West Asian time zones, and of course a good late Saturday night to all of you listening in happening here in what do you say here in West East Asian time zones, and of course wherever you're listening out there on the World Wide Web. May all be well with you and yours. It was actually kind of a hot day today, but for some reason my report's not coming up. Why? All right, anyways, it was a very hot day today. 86 degrees under generally not even overcast, just a hot day, hot sunny day today. 86 degrees. Current temperature sitting at if you're to believe that, it still says 86. I don't believe that. Maybe it seems hot. It just seems hot. Okay, 92 degrees. Okay, I take that back. 92 degrees today was the high with a current temperature of 86. Yeah, it's hot here. So much for our cold winter, right? And anyways, the overnight low is expected to get down to about 63 degrees. And we are going to go into a somewhat of a cooling trend, though, starting a week from now. It's going to be hot all week. Wow. Okay. Anyways, yeah, it's going to be very, very hot all week here in Riyadh. But next week we should see some pretty impressive cooling. But we'll see about that next week, right? Anyways, interesting week this past week. While I get the itchy off of my nose, it's this week we had the World Defense Show here in Riyadh, and yours truly was there. I was very, very busy. Believe it or not, the first day at the show, I walked, get this, and I'm an old man now. I'm not old, but I walked 18 and a half kilometers. 10 kilometers is about 6.2 miles. So I probably walked about 10, I don't know, 11 miles, something like that. Last Sunday, it was like 23,000, 24,000 steps if you're monitoring your steps on your health register. So it was quite a lot of steps. I ended up walking close to 68,000 steps for the week. So yeah, I was quite busy. My legs are very sore. My foot actually has become inflamed a little bit, which kind of sucks. So it's very painful. But I'll get through it. But nonetheless, it just sucks. You know, it was a very long week. Very interesting. Met a lot of great, interesting people. It was very interesting. What was really interesting about this show, the Chinese and the Russians and the Koreans, and I think that's about it. Oh yeah, Pakistanis, and that's about it. I think the Chinese, Koreans, Pakistanis, and Russians and Belarusians were all in the same hall as Saudi Arabia, the Saudi Arabia Supply Hall. The Americans were off in their own hall, hall number one, with the Europeans, the French, and pretty much everybody else. The Indians had their section. Turkey had a pretty large contingent there. But what was very interesting, I was at a company called Echodyne. If you guys know Echodyne, Echodyne is a radar company. And Echodyne makes very small radars that go onto like tanks, armored vehicles. They're used for counter drone um, recognition, basically to find the counter drones, and you can feed the data through the 3D radar to, let's say, 50 caliber machine guns, 25, even it's getting down now to even 7.62 caliber machine guns. And what they do is they put these on the turrets or the leading edge of the vehicle, and they feed the data back to the vehicle, and they try to just shoot these drones out of the sky. Counter drones was a massive, massive display there. I think there were about 20 Chinese counter drone companies there. Overall, it was quite impressive. Then we had a few Americans. Americans, I don't know why, but they're very difficult to work with. You know, the Chinese are more than happy to work with you, and they find ways to work with you. But the Americans are like, oh, you know, they're like, well, you know, let's do the NDA. Okay, that's fine. Nothing wrong with the NDA. And then tell us your plans. Tell us this. Tell us that. I was like, you know what? You know, you courteously listen to these guys because you know you're there to be professional about it all. But it's like, you know, I'm not going to write a big freaking book for you, dude. You know, you want to sell the product into people that we have. Okay. But apparently you want to work with the government. Okay, good luck. Go work with the government. Now, what's happening here in Saudi Arabia is there is a big push now to re enter American forces into Saudi Arabia. And one of the bases that we are very keen to support is a base in the central part of Riyadh, not Riyadh, but Saudi Arabia, called Prince Sultan Air Base. It's about 100 kilometers, 62, 70 miles south of Riyadh, something to that effect. It's like southeast, something like that. And Prince Sultan Air Base, I've actually been there. I've been through even the command center. I used to be a trainer there, so I've been through a lot of the base. I never got airside, meaning where the aircraft are actually stored, or taxiing or whatever. I could never get airside, although I did try, but I did get in back in the day into the command and control center, the command and control bunker, many areas of that facility I was able to get into because I was a trainer working in certain key areas, so I was able to get some access. So now I learned that we have literally a fairly sizable contingent as Americans going into Prince Sultan Air Base. You can find that out simply by who's building what. So there was a company here building these large bladders. These bladders are used for fuel, for water. They're massive, quite frankly. I don't know. They're probably 30,000 liters, something like that. Kind of like a big truck trailer filled with fuel. And they're building 4 of those hangars there to basically house the extra fuel. So it's rather interesting what is happening here relative to the Americans. Now, the Chinese, it was interesting. It was the first. Normally I'm just working hard receiving guests, but this week I got out and about and checked out the show. And what was fascinating on this show was the amount of intelligence. Let's just say intelligence. I wouldn't say they're operatives, but intelligence related government of people were walking through the show. I talked to many a Chinese company, and their embassy had, let's just say, special advisors, but they're kind of like intel, wandering the show, checking out who's doing what. And so I know that was going on. I visited a booth very close to us, and it just smelled like CIA. I'm not saying it was, but it smelled like CIA. One of the people inside the office actually was, I was told he was meeting with the U.S. ambassador that evening, so I couldn't meet with the gentleman. So you just had this sense of this year, the World Defense Show had a lot of intelligence type of people wandering around. Now, when I was talking to Echodyne, which does these radars, a lot of Chinese would come by. Now, there were probably about 20, 25 Chinese radar companies here doing their small counter-drone radars and various types of technologies. And if you're not familiar with the counter-drone business, of course, if you're following any of the the Russian-Ukraine war, you have big counter-drone needs there. Now, what I did not know, I actually met with some Ukrainians who were actually in what it looked like the CIA type of facility. So I did meet with two Ukrainians that were responsible for the counter drone activity for Ukraine. I did take their information. I do have it still, obviously. And, they're saying, look, we are the best counter drone facility company in the world because we have to fight the Russians day in and day out. I'm like, okay, they mentioned they've shot down or taken down over 5,000 drones. I'm like, okay, interesting. What I didn't know is Ukraine actually has what do you call that? The fiber optic drone. Now, what's interesting about these fiber optic drones, there's this pod. I don't know, it's about 4 inches at the bottom, and the fiber optics are spun inside, and the drone goes out and it uncoils itself, and it's got about a 6 to 10 kilometer range. So even the Ukrainians are using a fiber optic drone technology. And I asked them, what about the fields? I mean, I've heard information that you can actually see all the fiber optics in some of these really contested areas of the battlefield. And they kind of, shook their head. Yeah, that's very true. It's basically it's an environmental catastrophe. It's just part of what's happening in Ukraine. You've got an environmental catastrophe where you have so much fiber optic cable from both sides using these fiber optic drones. So then I'm looking, all right, fine. I follow the counter drone space, guys, so I'm kind of familiar with it. I actually presented a counter drone technology solution to the Ministry of Defense here way back in 2017, which is really now almost 10 years ago. So I've been following the space since its infancy. So there's many ways, so basically what it's really interesting about the counter drone business here is that you have a group of companies that are focusing on the drone technology and how to avoid getting caught. And then you have the counter drone people who are working on their technologies to try to figure out how to take down the drones. So each side, they don't talk to each other for the most part, but they are each developing their own technologies to try to defeat the other person. So over the years, we've seen all these measures and countermeasures and then more countermeasures. So like I'm seeing things that now jammers, jamming is one of the main priority issues. And the jammers will go all the way out to 400 kilometers. And they're asked why. And they said, well, actually, we're not countering the drones, we're countering the satellites. Now, you may have heard about that. If you take out the satellite, you can take out some of the inertial guidance systems that allow these drones to go, even though maybe they're getting jammed. So now we're taking out, okay, now we can take out the satellites. I've heard about that in Ukraine. I've heard about that in Russia. So this is one issue where they're now taking out the satellites. There's what they call spoofers, GNSS spoofers, GLONASS spoofers, GPS spoofers. What these do is they actually make the drone think it's somewhere where it's not. So it basically crashes. It thinks it's at 42 latitude and it's getting spoofed to be at 45 latitude. It corrects itself. It can't get there, runs out of fuel, and basically crashes. Another one that's very interesting in the counter drone space is this new connection or this new product called environmental spoofing. And I'm like, okay, that's interesting. What's environmental spoofing? So, environmental spoofing is when you send a signal to the drone and you're telling the drone that there is, let's say, a 30-mile-per-hour crosswind. So the drone picks up this signal that I'm getting a 30-mile-per-hour crosswind. And so it starts to overcorrect itself because there's actually no crosswind. You're telling it that there's a 30-mile-per-hour crosswind, but there isn't one. So the drone, it's a system that does its automated adjustments. It thinks it's getting hit by a 30-mile-per-hour crosswind. It overcompensates, and then it just flies down into the ground. I said, okay, that's an interesting one. So many, many, many solutions going on here. Now, there was a very interesting Chinese product, and I've seen it also with the Americans, but the Americans look very expensive and very exotic. But a Chinese product that does EMP pulse, which was rather interesting. I mean, you have to know what you're looking for when you go to these shows to sniff what's going on, because if you really don't know, you're not going to know what you're looking at, honestly. So in my case, I see this thing, I'm like, oh, that looks kind of like a wideband something or other, and it turned out to be an EMF. So what happened on this one? This is the intrigue going on, guys, right now in the defense industry. So then the U.S. Embassy, by all indications, I can't verify this 100%, sent over this one kind of proxy company to the Chinese booth asking to see the Chinese in Singapore. Now, why would you do that? Well, because the Chinese government is going to take a huge issue, just like the Americans would take a huge issue, if American companies are showing up in China looking at some of the latest interesting counter drone, type of technologies. They're going to find that rather not something that they would, let's just say, be accepting, especially in China. So then they're asking them to come to Singapore. And I'm getting these stories. See, here's the unique thing. I don't work for anybody. I'm kind of like a roving reporter. I'm not a reporter. I'm a roving businessman. I'm looking just at following the technologies, kind of like an analysis, or what is that word? An analyst. There you go. I'm kind of like an analyst. I'm walking around. I'm just studying the industry, checking to see. So I get all the stories from the Americans, from the British, from the Belarus, to the Russians, to the Ukrainians, to the Chinese, to the Singapore, to Thailand. I'm getting all these pictures from all over the world as to just exactly what's going on. So it's rather fascinating. So while I'm sitting with the Echodyne guys, with the what do you call this? The radar systems, 3 times Chinese people came over. 3 times Chinese people. Now, mind you, I'm American, so I went to a lot of Chinese places, and I was always well received, welcome, this is what I do, yada, yada. Follow up, the Chinese government is following, okay? They're following me and others like me to talk, to say who's you're talking to, who. So there's this intrigue going on, very fascinating intrigue going on right now in the industry. I had not witnessed this, and I've been doing this for 10 years, so it was very interesting. But the Echodyne people, the Americans, like shoving the Chinese out of their booth. Get out, get out, get out. Go away. I can't talk to you. Get away, get away. And it was very interesting to see the difference between how the Chinese were treating me as an American and how the Americans were treating the Chinese. I was received, well respected. Now, mind you, I'm not in the business. I'm not trying to create a radar system. I'm not trying to do anything like that. But they didn't say, you're American. Get out, get out, get out. We can't talk to you. We can't talk to you. No, they received me. They gave me a lot of details about what's going on. So, but the Americans, like, no, just get out of my booth. Get out, get out, get out. Very, very fascinating. Another interesting aspect of this year's show, it was not as good as 2024. And what I mean by that is in 2024, the air asset side of the defense industry was on really full display. So we had the Antonov AN-95 or 90 or 90, whatever it is, they're huge aircraft. And literally, I was last year able to walk up to the aircraft. Obviously, it was a small roped off area, but I could get basically right up to the aircraft, nearly touch it, take pictures. And the Americans had a huge contingent. We had Apaches, Bell helicopters, we had F-16s, we had so many aircraft there. And you could go up, talk, meet with the pilots, literally touch the wings, touch the fuselage. This year, everything was roped off. Everything was off in the distance. And I'm like, I can just go take pictures then. There were air shows every day. We had the Korean Black Falcons were there. I met with the Korean Black Falcons. They're basically like our Blue Angels, and the I don't know what the Chinese call theirs, but they were there also. So not the Chinese weren't there even this year. We didn't really have too many people there. The Koreans were there. The America did not seem to have a contingent. Maybe they did. I just wasn't that interested this year to go see the air show. But overall, guys, it was a very interesting week to spend, see what's latest in the defense industry. It's right there in Riyadh, right in my home area. I was invited to get a VIP pass, to be honest with you, which would have been kind of cool, take a walk around with my VIP pass. But I did not accept that offer. I figured, the heck with it. I don't really, really need it. It's not going to give me that many benefits. Yeah, I can get into the VIP booth. So what happened once is one of my guests, our colleagues, is a VIP at the show. And he told me, "Oh, go to see this guy and take his VIP badge." So I take his VIP badge, and it's got the schmuck and everything, full Saudi dress. And I go into the VIP booth, and he scans my colleague, and then he scans me, and he looks at me, looks at the picture, says, "Sir, this doesn't really look like you." I said, "Yeah, I know, but I'm actually the one who paid for it." Actually, I was the one that authorized payment of it. So I said, "But I haven't really got my money back yet." So, just he just smiled and kind of winked, and at least he got to scan the VIP. So I did use a VIP pass. I know we're not supposed to, but I think the organizer and everybody will look the other way on this one. We did not certainly abuse our privileges whatsoever. So I just went in and grabbed a sandwich, basically. Hey, I was hungry. So anyway, so that was kind of the World Defense Show, everybody. Kind of a nice week. Met with some really nice people from all over the world. And it's interesting in the defense industry, the types of people you have. So if you go, let's say, to certain companies, they make bullets, right? They make ammunition, they make mortar shells, missiles, you name it, anything that is kinetic. And like, there's a group of people that work these shows, and I know many, 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 many that will not be involved in the defense industry if it's kinetic, meaning that it will hurt or harm somebody. And so what they are in is literally the defense industry, meaning that their products are there to purely defend against a threat. In no way are these designed in any way to go out and harm anybody. As a general rule, it is there to defend the space first. No kinetic. And what's interesting is you meet a lot of really nice people. And of course, a lot of you might think, defense industry, whatever. I don't know what you're really thinking about it. But they're people too. I mean, everybody in the world has their unique talents and their unique channels, and certain of them are very honest, ethical, hardworking people. They do believe in self-defense for their nation. They obviously believe in self-defense for others. They're putting out quality products that are purely of a defense nature. And those are actually, honestly, most of the people I do associate with. I'm not out there trying to sell missile systems and anti-aircraft. These are government to government type stuff. I don't even want to bother. It's not worth my time, frankly. I could never pull off a deal like that, even if I wanted to. Registering and all that, I don't want to be involved in all that. So I really stick to the world of, let's say, an analyst. I study everything. I see what's going on in the industry. I keep fresh and abreast on it. If people need work like databases or some type of corporate structure within their companies, because I know the industry. I sometimes pick up some, avant-garde. Let's just say, I don't know if avant-garde is the right word, but just some, you know, small jobs here and there just to kind of pay some more bills. So overall, guys, it was a very interesting week. It was very tiring. Today, I kind of crashed. Yesterday, I was okay. I just finished with my last client today. Just had lunch, just got home about an hour ago, and we had just a great time learning about her business, the family's business that she's involved in, what she's doing in Canada, what she's doing around the world, etc. So it was very interesting to say the least, meeting people from South Africa, which was interesting, call it for what it is, you know what I mean? Maybe you don't know what I mean, but some of you know what I mean. The Pakistanis, some of the people I met from Pakistan were very interesting. I met with a couple of generals from Bangladesh who are familiar with what we're doing here in the uniform supply business. So that was interesting. So overall, guys, it was a very interesting show. And if you ever get a chance or opportunity to go in and see some of these, why not get yourself in and see some of those? All right. I haven't checked in. First of all, I apologize for the lighting. I don't know what happened to the lighting. I can't seem to get the lighting to be really, really good. But we should be going out right now on Discord. Don't switch. We should be going out on Discord. I hope we're going out on Discord. I haven't gotten any calls, so I assume everything is okay there. Chat room, Inside the Eye Live, insidetheyelive.com. Let's go check and see. insidetheyelive.com/live chat. And let's see here. now kind of logging into the live chat. And it's still pinging, and it just logged on, and it's quiet there. Ever since we started the Rumble feed, it's been quiet. And yes, oh, by the way, yes, to everybody out there, have a happy Valentine's Day to the young ladies out there. I had a Chinese lady here, and what I did is she's never had a Valentine's Day, so I went and bought her a rose and some chocolate for her trip home today, and she was so excited. She'd never ever had somebody buy her a Valentine's gift. So she's actually got a fiance in the UK, but I bought her a nice Valentine's gift, and then bought another couple of people here some nice, just to be kind, and that was all kind of cool. But so yeah, there you go, guys. Anyways, it looks like everything's going out okay. Inside the Eye Live, and then Rumble Inside the Eye Live also. Back with more right after this.
Welcome back to the Deep Dive. I hope you have your seatbelts fastened for this one, and honestly, you might want to grab a pencil and a very, very large stack of paper.
A very large stack.
We aren't doing the typical shallow swim today. We are going right to the bottom of the ocean.
Shallow is definitely not the word for where we're going. We are diving into what I would consider the deep end of the esoteric pool.
Yeah.
Maybe the Mariana Trench of it.
We really are. Today we are unpacking a series of extremely rare, out-of-circulation recordings. And I mean, these aren't things you can just pull up on a standard streaming service.
Not at all.
We are talking about a set of broadcasts from late 2012, specifically from a show called The Esoteric Hour.
Right. And to set the scene, these were broadcast out of Amman, Jordan, which already, adds a layer of intrigue.
It really does.
You have this voice, an American expat known as The Fetch, or simply Dennis, broadcasting from the Middle East. And he's dissecting the English language in a way that I don't think anyone has really done before or since.
And there were only, 11 of these specific shows that focused on this system?
That's right, just 11. There were 11 specific episodes of The Esoteric Hour where he laid out this particular system. They are dense, they are rambling in that, that classic late-night radio sort of way, but they contain a very specific, crystalline logic.
And that logic is the core of what we're discussing today.
Yeah.
I mean, the thesis is wild.
It is.
The Fetch isn't just presenting history or linguistics in the academic sense. He's presenting a system, a complete totalizing view of reality where language isn't just a way to order a coffee or, write a grocery list.
Right.
It is a mathematical software.
That's the key term he uses over and over again, software. He argues that the English language, the language we are speaking right now, the language you are listening to, is not some random mishmash of German, French, and Latin that just happened to evolve.
No.
He argues it is a constructed mathematical code. He calls it the Isesian Code, or sometimes the English Kabbalah.
The Veil of Isis.
Exactly. He views English as the true veil of Isis. In mythology, Isis is the goddess of magic, wisdom, and weaving, right? The idea here is that English is a phonetic and numerical system that acts as the operating system for reality itself. It screens us from the raw data of the universe, but if you know the code, it also reveals it.
That is a massive claim. I mean, it basically flips our entire understanding of history on its head.
Completely.
Instead of language evolving from, primitive grunts up to Shakespeare, he's saying it was retro-engineered or designed from the top down.
And he warns the listener right off the bat in these tapes. This isn't passive listening. You really can't just have this on in the background while you fold laundry.
No way.
He says the speed of the numbers, the way these codes connect, is designed to, and I quote him here, rewire the brain.
Rewire the brain. I love that. It's like he's issuing a challenge right from the start.
He is. He believes that by following the mathematical links between words and sounds and numbers, you actually change your cognitive processing. You stop seeing words as these static labels, and you start seeing them as active formulas.
Okay, so that is our mission today. We are going to try and follow that wiring. We're going to deconstruct the logic of the Isesian codes. We're going to look at how he moves from, basic letter summation to this incredibly complex zodiacal math, and eventually to something he calls the Philosopher's Stone.
It's a dense journey for sure, but if you follow the logic step by step, it's fascinatingly coherent.
Okay, so let's start at the foundation. Section 1, the metaphysical theory of number. Because before we can even get to the words, we have to understand the numbers, right?
Absolutely.
And the fetch seems to think we've been counting wrong our whole lives.
Correct. The fetch grounds his entire theory in a, let's call it a Pythagorean worldview. Pythagoras, of course, is the father of Western mathematics, but he was also a mystic.
Right, all is number.
All is number. But the fetch takes it a step further. He says number isn't just a descriptor. It's not like I have 2 apples, where 2 just describes the quantity of apples.
Right, it's not a label.
It's not a label. He says number is the skeleton of the universe. It is existence itself. If you could strip away all the physical matter, what's left is the mathematical vibration.
And he leads into this with a really interesting linguistic riddle, the one about the words num and number.
Yes. This is the concept of inverse duplicity. It's a recurring theme in his work.
All right, everybody, welcome back. Again, if you're watching on the Rumble feed, again, this is the Fetch Inside the Eye Live, broadcasting live from Revolution Radio. Not from, but on Revolution Radio, which is our flagship station, to be honest with you. So we are going out, but I just want to apologize for the video quality. For some reason, I got all the lights turned off, and I look like I'm a ghost. I'm like... But anyways, this is how it works sometimes, you know. I have no idea. I've got literally all my lights turned off, and I still look like I'm glowing. I didn't change anything that I'm aware of. So anyways, I apologize for that. But we're going to get through it. And no, I'm not going to try to edit it later. It's just going to stay that way because, hey, it's a free service, guys. But first, we want to say thanks to everybody who's following the Rumble channel because it's our private now network. Rumble has been very good to the show. I mean, it's been very good. It's a good fit. The long style radio that we do, and I do look at us as more of a radio type show rather than a streaming show. We come out of the radio genre. And yeah, we make a little beef about that, but we don't see ourselves as basically streamers. We see ourselves first as radio personalities doing Patriot Radio, and we're using the other technologies like, let's say, video to expand the reach of the show. But first and foremost, we do look at ourselves as a radio show. So this is Inside the Eye Live. Why is that so bright? Man, why? What the hell is on that makes that so bright? I have no idea. Honestly, I have no idea. But it's like, if you can see it on Rumble, it's like glaring. You can almost not even see the microphone. And I just didn't have time to fix it. I got home too late to try to fix the video. Anyways, what else? Yeah, and the shirt's like not even dark. It should be dark brown. Video, guys. Video. That's why radio is so much easier. You don't have to worry about the lights and all that stuff. All right. Anyways, to those of you listening out there on Inside the Eye Live, of course, you can pick up the stream on Inside the Eye Live. There is a media player on Inside the Eye Live. You can pick it up there. Join us there for the chat room. It's generally coming along. Ever since we started the Rumble feed, I think we split the audience a little bit. So some of the audience is over at the Rumble feed and some are here. So it kind of splits the audience a little bit. But nonetheless, it's usually pretty active there, more so than at the Rumble feed, to be honest with you. It's more quiet there, but still it's a good audience at Rumble for the size of the show. You know, we don't do any promotion. We don't do anything like that. So we're very happy with the show. All right, let's kind of keep moving along. We covered the World Defense Show. It gives you a little bit insight who and what Fetch does in his real world. And it's not even close to the depth of where we go, okay? But nonetheless, we got to share some of the mystique. You know, it's down to earth. I'm a casual guy, street guy. But I do have an air of sophistication from time to time about me. And anyways, it was fun to have done the show. All right, what's interesting now to me is, again, the battle, I guess we could say, between the Israelis and the Americans, and the Israeli Americans against the Americans. Now, what I view, and I could be wrong, you know what I mean? But we live in a world where the Israelis really control American political discourse. Literally, they're out there nowadays talking to people about how everybody should be jailed if you criticize Israel. For instance, here's a Israeli operative. He's not an American, dude. You can't call a Randy Fine, Congressman Randy Fine, an American first guy. He's an Israeli operative if there ever was one. Now listen to what this guy has to say about the American people and what should be happening to the American people.
Without violating their free speech.
Sure. And again, I would remind you that there's no First Amendment right to conduct. There's a First Amendment right to speech. And the things that we're targeting in the bill are not speech. Again, if someone wants to stand across the street from my house and wave a sign on the sidewalk, they have every right to do that. And this bill won't have anything to do with that. But when it veers into conduct, and so the way we're going to approach this is through a hate crime kicker. So if you graffiti a building, it is a crime now. But if your motivation is hate, it will be a third-degree felony. You will spend 5 years.
Now, here's the arrogance of Jewish people. I really want to tell the Jewish people, go F yourselves. Honestly, go F yourselves. Who are you to sit in our country as guests? You didn't build the country. You basically spoiled the country. You took over Hollywood. You created false narratives. You perpetuate some of the deepest, darkest, sinister crimes in the world. Literally with the children, the child sacrifice, all you do to your Moloch and your religion, and you want to call it a blood libel. Say what you want. But the fact of the matter is, where there's smoke, there is fire. And where there's lots of smoke, there's lots of fire. And in the case of the Jewish people and this issue, there's too much smoke, and therefore there's too much fire going on. He wants to describe, he thinks he's a frickin' Jew, okay? Think about this for a second. You're all adults out there. Seriously, every one of you is an adult out there. And you got some Jewish guy sitting on a pedestal up there. He's going to determine for all of you, what is hate? What is hate? What? If I want to put up together some type of, let's say, political message, some ass Jewish guy is going to, well, that was hate. It's conduct, and now it's a hate crime. Now, he goes on. He's not asking for just simple things. He's calling a third-degree felony. A third-degree felony. So basically what the Jewish people are telling the American people, if you oppose us in a manners that we don't like, we as Jews are going to declare this a hate crime, and we're going to wipe out the opposition in this country by jailing specific leaders in the country, specifically for 5 years to spread the message that we Jews are in power. And you Goyim scumbags better keep that in mind and watch your conduct. Can you imagine a grown man like Randy Fine telling other grown men that, oh, we Jews are going to watch your conduct? We Jews are going to decide whether your conduct is hateful or not, whether you put a graffiti up there. Does this mean that, I swear, does this mean that every Jew that calls for the destruction of the white race, and there's so many of them, so many, that we start declaring these people filled with hatred, which is true, and we get to jail them for 5, 10, 12, 20 years, hard labor? Do we get to do that? Because unless you can go back against the Jewish people and start fighting back and doing like the Germans did, frankly, all the way back. And look, I saw a post today, Germany, right? About Germany. And it's another Jewess, right? The frickin' Holocaust, never dying survivors, okay? She looks like she's 65 going on 99 or maybe 115, but she looks around 65. Oy vey, it must be the gefilte fish that makes me look so young for so long. So she's up there saying, oh, when I went into Auschwitz, I was 8 months pregnant, and I was able to hide the baby, and we were able to bring the baby out after the war, and we all survived. Anybody believe this bullshit from these people? And we're paying these people billions of dollars to tell stories like this. Oh, can you imagine? The Germans were so stupid that they wouldn't recognize an 8, 9-month-old pregnant woman. And she's going to somehow hide the fact that she's 9 months pregnant. And we're supposed to believe these stupid, I want to call them very crass Jewish bitches, okay? Because the audacity to get in our faces with this bold-faced lie.
Oi, I was 8 months pregnant and I hid the baby from the Germans, and I would have been sent to the gas chambers immediately had they known. You know what? We have so much frickin' video and archives from the Auschwitz. There were over 3,000. Some say, I don't know if it's 3 or 30,000 children born in Auschwitz. 30,000, 3,000 to 30,000. They had midwives, okay? They had dentists. They had swimming pools. They had orchestras. They had brothels. They had their own script, meaning currency. Give me a frickin' break already, all right? While everybody else in Europe was dying under this massive slaughter, engineered by largely Jewish bankers, simply because the Germans wanted a separate economic system, Jews were put in camps because they couldn't be trusted. Americans did that to the Japanese. So why do we think it's bad to put the Jews in the camps? It's not bad. The fact is, most of them couldn't be trusted, and then a large percentage of them were actually protected from the war. 100,000 Jewish people served in the German Wehrmacht. It's rumored that some of the key SS people were actually Jewish. So to those who were meted out the most harsh punishment, which was basically strangulation by piano wire, these kind of like crypto Jews that were secretly working there were kind of like given, 5 years, slap on the hand, 3 years, they're out. So study your history. The amount of lies and deceit that's going on here is phenomenal. Randy Fine wants to sit there and try to jail Americans because of quote-unquote conduct that he doesn't like. Listen, it's not for a frickin' Jew to tell the American people what is and isn't quote-unquote hatred. To sit there and implode European countries and say so openly that this is what we're going to do. We are going to implode your countries with immigrants because, hey, immigration, you stole the land from others, so, hey, we're going to let people invade you. They've opened the door to our countries, guys, flooded our countries. I don't care if it's Europe, whether it's Germany, France, Italy, Sweden, the UK, Canada, America. It's all white countries, and it's actually becoming more than white countries, I learned. I'll get back into some of what I talked about in the show this week. I learned a lot. So basically, you have to have a lot of hatred to destroy a culture, okay? A lot. And the amount of hatred that Jewish people have for the American people and Europeans in general is actually through the roof. When they keep talking about hate crimes, they're just projecting their own mind on us, period.
Prison. If you want to litter, it's a crime right now. But if you litter and if your motivation is a hate crime, it will be a third-degree felony. You will spend 5.
Now, see the bullshit from these Jews? Because what happened? In Florida, we had this, I don't even remember the guy's name, the Goyim something or other guy. I really don't remember his name, but he was out there putting flyers out, right? That were about Jewish people. And it wasn't even hateful. It was just factual information. Jews do this, Jews have this, Jews control this, Jews are here, Jews are here. Nothing about it's hateful. It's just factual matter. And so that was littering because, they're putting this, and they go after the guy to throw him in jail for the quote-unquote the littering. So the reason he's saying this is because basically he doesn't want people spreading propaganda, dissent, opposition through flyers that are on the ground that people can pick up. He, as a Jew, wants to control what's said on the media. He, as a Jew, controls CBS, basically. Not him personally, but as a group. The Jews, if you want to use that phrase, they control so much of our media. So they're saying we can control the media. We can control, and we even talk about openly controlling social media platforms to make sure we control what is being said. Yet if you go out there and try to fight back against this with a flyer that you put around the ground and the wind blows it away, it's now littering, they want to throw you in 5 years for that. Well, now how else are you going to get your message out there when Jews control all the avenues of mass marketing? What's left? Grassroots. Going out, holding up signs. But if you're demotivated by hate, who the hell are these Jews to talk like this? So if you're an American and you're a patriot, leave Europe for now. Let me talk to the Americans for this point. If you're an American and you're a patriot, I mean, I can't tell you how to raise your voice, okay? I can't tell you to do things violent because I'm not going to call for that. But organizing, sending messages, letting these politicians know that in no uncertain terms is this acceptable to us, the people, and that we do regard this as a foreign influence, an enemy from an external enemy that is working internally, enemies foreign and domestic. And if this persists, then what you're going to do is you're going to cause, the more you start enacting this, a civil war type of environment, and it ain't going to be pretty for you Jews. Then maybe they back down. But here's the thing. They don't know how to stop. They have one wheel, one lever, and it's always in forward. It doesn't have a reverse. So they're going to keep pushing these issues onto the American people until basically the American people say enough is enough is enough is enough. And it's been that way for what? Thousands of years. Oy vey, we've been kicked out of 100 countries. Yeah, oy vey bullshit. You were kicked out because of the same stuff you're doing to us now. Period. 5 years.
Years in jail. It is a crime right now to hang banners from an interstate. For obvious reasons, we don't want to distract drivers. But if you do that...
Oh, we don't want to distract drivers. Oh, we're Jews. We're so freaking stupid. We don't know how to drive when there's a banner hanging from the freaking overpass. Yeah, we're Jews, and everybody like us Jews, we're just freaking morons, and we don't know how to drive. And that's basically what he said. Yeah, we're complete freaking morons. Can you imagine that, we don't want to distract the drivers. Have you ever been to Riyadh? Anybody been to Riyadh? Raise your hand. I swear, on every overpass, glitzy LED displays, everywhere you go, advertising, flashing, blinking, buy this, this government agency is watching out for your interests. Look out for this event coming up soon. Everywhere you go along East Ring Road, especially East Ring Road, okay? It's one of the main thoroughfares. It's kind of like the 110 freeway or the 10 freeway in LA, right? Every overpass has a glitzy LED display. And here's Randy Fine, the beacon of light, genius Jew, complaining that, we can't have banners because we don't want to distract the people. Basically, he's saying we're idiots. We Jews are freaking idiots. We don't know what the hell we're doing. And so therefore, because we're freaking morons, we're going to tell you that you can't do something because we as a Jew are freaking morons and we can't do anything. Because what's he saying? Oh, if you hang a banner. But if you hang it for hatred, dude, shut the frick up already. You're in power right now and we're not happy. As a political force, we're not happy with your talent. We're not happy with your skills. We're not happy with your policies. Do you understand, you third rail, fifth rail Jewish traitor? I wonder if he gets it. Somehow. Excuse me. I doubt it. Think about it. Everything that people do for opposition, this Jewish guy is saying we need to make it a 5-year felony just by declaring it hatred. Do the American people want to put up with this bullshit from these people? That somehow they're the adults in the room and the rest of us are all just a bunch of children and mommy and daddy Jew is up there saying, well, you can't have hatred. No hatred. I'm going to put you in the room, in the corner for 5 years. It's called a penitentiary because it's a 5-year felony for your hatred. And I'm your mommy and daddy. See my yarmulke. See, it says daddy here and mommy. Well, mommy doesn't wear one, but she gives me gefilte fish every day, and it makes me kind of bitter. So what the frick, guys? Seriously, what the frick is the matter with these people? And they're running the country. He's literally running the country, okay? He is a freaking congressman. He is running the country. All right? He's just one of many Jews running the country.
And you have a hate crime, a hate motivation, it will be a third-degree felony. You will spend 5 years in jail.
How optimistic are you of moving this bill along?
I guarantee the bill will pass.
Okay,
When
so
will
And I never.
he's saying he's guaranteeing that the bill will pass. I guarantee the bill will pass. I guarantee the bill will pass. Okay. That means that my question to my American compatriots here is, if we take a poll right now, do we want Jews jailing us for 5 years when Jews get to declare what is and isn't hatred? How many of us are voting for that as an American people? 3%? Maybe 7%. 80% of the Jews in the country, and then some of their POC people, some within the LGBT, the rights groups that they control. But no American's going to be sitting and saying, yeah, we need to start jailing ourselves for a banner that a Jew declares as hatred. Again, guys, this is becoming so insane, and Jews are so out of control at this stage that it cannot bode well for the future unless the Americans want to live under a Bolshevik terrorist enterprise run by Jewish people. Now, if the American people want to stay silent and say nothing and do nothing, and they want Jewish Bolshevism to literally dominate their lives, then okay, they will do nothing. And they will now find themselves in the exact same situation as the British find themselves today. It was rather interesting. Let's say you're a British person and you're being persecuted by Jews in Britain. You're not being persecuted by British people. You're being persecuted by Jewish people and those who work for Jewish people. So Trump put out something to the effect that, and I think the State Department did too, that if you are being persecuted by your government, present yourself to the U.S. Embassy, and we may and probably will grant you asylum in the United States. So, okay, like many people from North Korea and other parts of the world that have really felt and lived under communist tyranny, it's coming to America anyway. So maybe you're going to buy yourself a 2 to 3 year reprieve at the rate it's going. But overall, America is not safe from this mind disease that is Jewish Bolshevism. It's just not safe. But it's rather interesting that America is actually talking about giving British citizens asylum. And that brings me to this idea of Tommy Robinson. Now, as you know, Tommy Robinson is literally an Israeli firster. He's an Israeli agent. He's been out there. He's been seen with his IDF uniform, not uniform, but his IDF T-shirt, IDF regalia, supported by Friends of Israel. He's a big guy that's anti-Muslim. He talks about, of course, the Muslim Islamic threat, Islamic extremism, yada, yada. All of that is brought to us by his people, his Jewish people. I was speaking to a Chinese woman the other day, and very bright woman, and frankly. So we were talking about the Essenian codes, my breakdown in English and what I can see, which she found fascinating. And come to find out, she's got a fiance that lives in the UK, Irish Ghanaian. Okay, it shows you diversity is alive and well, and into the same thing, but using Quran typically. And we got to talking, and she said straight up, we want to leave London. She's well enough to do. She lives in different countries from time to time. And they're like, yeah, we need to leave London. London is not London. London is scary. All right. So then we understand that the British people, vis-a-vis the British government, the British military, British intelligence services, they all lost their country. They don't even have a real country anymore. There is no Great Britain military anymore. There's Britain, if you want to call it Britain. There's the UK, if you want to call it the UK, but there's no Great Britain. The great, as Lavrov said, from Russia is long ago past. There's no Great Britain anymore. It's just Britain. And this thing, the military, the political class, the church, the Anglican Church, every single institutional power base in the UK, they lost their country. It's almost comical if it weren't so tragic. It's comical.
the British military, along with its security forces, lost their country. It's been taken over. These guys were so frickin' stupid as a political class, as a military class, as an intelligence class, that they couldn't even stop the takeover of their own country. And again, I get said that I use the word moron a lot, but man, what complete, utter morons are the elite inside of the UK. It's The Fetch, everybody. Back with more right after this.
This idea that the English language tells you the truth, but it often does so in a way that seems backwards or perverted.
To break down the Dumb and Dumber analogy, it's great.
It's simple, but it's really effective. We all know the word dumb. If you are more dumb than someone else, you are dumb. The suffix "er" implies more of.
Right. Dumb, dumber, fast, faster, simple.
Exactly. So logic follows.
Yeah.
If you are numb, N-U-M-B, lacking sensation, frozen, unfeeling, and you become more of that state, you should be. Number. N-U-M-B-E-R.
Right.
But number refers to mathematics. It refers to the highest form of logic and order and consciousness. So the Fetch argues that this is a linguistic trap.
A trap.
He says that to be number, to master the code of number, is actually to be the opposite of numb. It is to be fully coherent. It is to be a master of reality.
So the language itself hides the secret of number by making it sound like a state of being more numb.
Precisely. It's inverse duplicity. The language cloaks the power of mathematics in a word that suggests a lack of feeling, a lack of consciousness. Only those who look past the surface definition see the connection.
That's clever. It's like a little riddle built right into the grammar. And he does the same thing with the word nouns. This anagram really, it kind of blew my mind a little bit when I wrote it down.
This is a classic example of his pencil and paper exercises. He says, take the word N-O-U-N-S.
Okay. N-O-U-N-S. I've got it.
Now rotate that S from the N to the very front.
Okay, so that gives me S-N-O-U-N.
Now take the N that was at the beginning, move it to the end, and apply a phonetic shift. We'll talk about this more later, but N and D are phonetically related. They're both dental sounds. They're made in the same part of the mouth. So you change the N to a D.
So S-N-O-U-N becomes S-O-U-N-D. Sound.
Sound. Nouns are sound.
Wow.
In his physics, physical objects, nouns, are things that vibrate. Everything is vibration. A rock, a tree, a table. At the atomic level, it is just vibrating energy. It is sound. So the word noun is literally a coded instruction telling you that physical objects are made of vibration.
It's like the word contains its own physics definition, but you have to unscramble it to see it.
Exactly. It connects right back to that idea of the universe being musical or vibrational.
Yeah.
But to understand that vibration, you have to understand the counting system. And the Fetch has a specific, let's call it a beef with how we count. He really goes after the base 10 system.
He calls it the Jehovian shift, right? Or an error.
He does. And look, most of us think in base 10 because, well, look at your hands. We have 10 fingers. It seems natural.
Right. It's intuitive.
It seems intuitive. But the Fetch argues that the true mathematical system of the universe, the esoteric system, is base 9, meaning 0 through 9.
Explain the logic there. What's the problem with 10?
Because 10 isn't a unique digit. What is 10? It's a 1 and a 0. It is a return to the start. You have finished the cycle of single digits, 1 through 9, and you are looping back to the beginning, 1 and 0.
So 10 is just a composite. It's not a new thing in itself.
It's compound. He says if you build a code based on 10 unique digits, you've already broken the logic because the 10th digit is just a repetition of the first 2. The system must be 0 through 9. That gives you the full spectrum of reality. And this leads to his core mechanism, summation.
Okay, let's unpack summation because this is the engine of the whole Isesian code. If you don't get this, you don't get the rest of this deep dive. It's not just, 1 + 1 = 2.
No, not at all. In the Ising system, the value of a number is the sum of everything leading up to it. It is cumulative. So take the number 4.
Okay, so
The Isesian value of 4 is not just 4. It is 1 + 2 + 3 + 4.
which equals 10.
Correct. So in this code, 4 is 10. They are energetically linked. They are facets of the same thing.
And what about larger numbers? Does that hold up?
It applies everywhere. And this leads to his famous belly of the beast calculation. He uses a gambling analogy, which is great. He talks about snake eyes on a pair of dice,
Okay, so that's a 1 and a 1.
which looks like an 11.
Right.
So if you take the number 11 and you apply summation 1 + 2 + 3 all the way up to 11, what do you get?
I am definitely not doing that in my head right now.
It's 66.
66.
And since you have snake eyes plural, or perhaps because the dice represent a pair. The 66 leads us to the concept of 666, but where he really lands the plane is with Roman numerals.
This was the whoa moment for me. This part is just, it's undeniable.
This is undeniable math. He asked you to write down the Roman numeral system, just the primary letters I, V, X, L, C, D, M.
Okay, I, V, X, L, C, D, M.
Got it. Now write down their standard values. I is 1, V is 5, X is 10, L is 50, C is 100, D is 500, M is 1,000.
Okay, got the values.
Now it's to add them all together.
Yeah. Okay, so 1 plus 5 plus 10 plus 50 plus 100 plus 500 plus 1,000.
The total is 1,666.
Okay, guys, sorry about that. Welcome back. Technical issues behind the scenes there. I don't think you caught all that. What I have to do now is I forgot to unmute. So now, guys, back in the Revolution Radio side of things, you can hear me. Nobody called me. You missed a great rant. I have to block it because what we're doing here is on the Rumble feed during the commercials. We have a separate show called Perspectives, and Perspectives is a show that really deals with some of the old history of the Illuminatus Observer and the Isisian codes, and really what fetch into the radio business. And so we're running LLM, the large language model, analysis of some of my old work. And so this week we're doing a show, an LLM analysis of the very first 3 shows we did back in 2012 on Awake Radio. It was back in in Ireland. It was produced by Dewa. And we put it together back then. And so LLM is playing in the background, and I'm literally doing things on the fly here, so I do apologize. Just to sway a little bit. But anyways, welcome back. Sorry to do in the what do you call that? The Revolution Radio items. So yeah, the numbers here, I guess a lot of people are bailing from the what do you call it? The radio stream over to Rumble, because the Rumble has got both, and I don't forget to unmute you. So at Revolution Radio, you are back. Nobody called me. Normally I get like 2-3 calls. I'm so embarrassed. Not really embarrassed, but shit, I forgot to unmute you guys. All right, next issue I wanted to discuss this week, number 3. First, go back to the show, World Defense Show. I learned some very things. Now, one second. Very thirsty. There's something in the world we call business intelligence. All right? Business intelligence is basically monitoring the tenders of the world, the news cycles, and coming to a conclusion as to where things are headed. In other words, you're basically pulling intelligence from open sources. And another way of business intelligence is to be in the field. For instance, I'm in the field, and let's say back in the Jordanian days, and I go to Aqaba, and there's this giant tanker sitting offshore. And I'm like, what's the tanker for? And some local calls me, and, oh, well, that's a mask, because that's where the oil is normally loaded onto Jordanian shores and sent to the refineries in Jordan. But they're reversing the refinery oil flow, and they're sending the oil out through tankers from Iraq, and it's going to smaller ships and being smuggled out of Jordan. And that big ship there is to hide the fact that there are smaller ships behind it. Okay, that's business intelligence. Got some local fishermen. They know what's going on. They know that they're smuggling it out, and they tell you. So that's a business intelligence. My strength has always been in that realm, business intelligence. Not what you read in the newspapers, not what you necessarily see in the tenders, although those are things I do have access to, but just being in the field, literally being in the field, listening to what people say. So I met a Chinese company, and they're making a product. I don't want to say the product because it would be too specific. And the product is sold to the tune
$30 million into Canada. Tariffs or no tariffs, they're doing great. One of the key components of this product is actually an American product. So you have the Chinese side, and then you have the American component, which without the American component just doesn't work so well. So in other words, it's like a joint project between an American company that makes a very sophisticated piece and the Chinese that are making something that's pretty sophisticated but not as sophisticated. So now, if you don't know what's going on in China today and what all of these trade wars and all this has to do, China's real estate market imploded, and it remains very severe, very, very, very severe for their economy, for their government, for their banks, everything. So the strategy of the Chinese was to inflate themselves out of the real estate bubble by maintaining support for exports around the world. So they were going to mask the real estate problems by creating wealth in the country by exporting a ton of equipment. So what did they do? The Americans are like, okay, we need to box the Chinese in by boxing in their energy, because if the energy is high, their production values are high, so they're not going to be so competitive in the industrial space when it comes to the export markets. This is all going on in real time, and very few people truly grasp what is actually happening. So what I learned is that of the say, $30 million going into Canada, most of the profit was being done through tax rebates for particular items that they were buying. So let's say they were buying certain types of springs. The springs were tax deductible. So when they sold them, they could take money back from the taxes on the springs. Or let's say it was a type of metal and they would sell it, and when they when they shipped it, they got an export credit on the metal, or they got an export credit on glass, or an export credit on screws. So essentially what they were doing in China was they were giving, meaning the government there, they were giving the various exporters all of these various tax credits. So the exporters weren't necessarily making money on margins on the export value. They were making their money on the tax credit, the subsidies coming from the Chinese government. That's how they were doing it. I'm like, okay, that's interesting. And then she starts telling me this long list of items that are no longer tax deductible. In other words, you can't get a tax rebate. This item's not tax rebatable. This isn't. Well, what's that tell you on an intelligence basis? The Chinese government is running out of money. It's becoming severe. So what are they doing? They're literally trying to pull in all the various channels of money to keep preserving their cash flow, because they can't keep affording. Is that how to say that? They can't afford. Let's just say they can't afford the subsidies. They can't afford the subsidies anymore. So they're pulling it in. So China right now, as a government, actually is having financial problems. It's not big as you might imagine, but it's big enough to where they're taking away all the extra benefits that they were giving their exporters. So the exporters are now starting to actually fall to the side. It's becoming even more challenging for the Chinese. Another issue which I didn't know. For years and years and years, the Chinese were selling cheap uniforms. For instance, in Yemen, the military uniforms in Yemen, they were being sold through trading companies out of Hong Kong. So it would go through 1-2 hands, and then it would get to Yemen. Sometimes it would go through a charity organization here in Saudi. They would buy it from the Hong Kong company, and then they would then gift it to the Yemen military. And I'm talking about the military in Aden. But 2 years ago, the Chinese started doing what the Americans do. If it has anything to do with military, dual use or otherwise, everything has an export control. Everything is actually required in what we call an EUC, or an end user certificate. even military uniforms, even the khaki greens, any type of green. The color green is actually on an EUC watch list by the Chinese government. That means that no trading company is going to be allowed anymore to buy up uniforms to shady operators and send them out into the market, like the ISIS, like the Daesh, like the various rebel organizations that the Americans are funding. Hello. So now the Americans are they're going to have to scramble to go find some cheaper uniforms. If you don't follow the EUC properly, and an EUC means an end user certificate, you're going to jail if they actually catch you in the customs. So if they open that container and it's a bunch of military uniforms or khaki uniforms or khaki fabric, you're going to jail. And already I've heard multiple stories from this show from multiple sources of factories, long histories even, where they kept selling under the old regime, just selling it outside the country. And no end user certificates, and the Chinese government come in, shut them down, take the owners, put them in jail, and then the trading companies are put on a blacklist. So things are changing out there. And you got to you can't. You'd have to be there, right? But like if you're in our level, we have to keep our ears to the ground. What's going on? So now I understand the Chinese are literally throttling down the ability to kit or dress, but kit rebel groups around the world because you need an end user certificate. So now it's forcing the Americans and these black operations to go to Bangladesh, Pakistan maybe, but you can't get out of China, which was the most efficient. So that is an interesting development. Two interesting developments coming out now about China. There's three. Number one is that they sent a advisor this year from the embassy with intelligence background, monitoring every single Chinese company in that trade show this year. Literally. I talked to more than one Chinese vendor that told me straight up they got a visit from their embassy. The U.S. Embassy, I talked to multiple people, were apparently sending out again operatives under business cloak, like someone like me actually, to try to get the Chinese to come to Singapore or other countries. So lots of intrigue going on in the world today relative to this. The Chinese, again, they are losing value. They're having problems with their cash flow, the government. Why did they sign the deals with Russia? Well, they needed the cheap gas so they could help reduce their prices and then start to export the value with very low energy. I was told by another girl a couple of days ago, a lady, 70% of China right now is actually running on electric vehicles. Okay, that's fine. It works for them. Let it go. That doesn't mean we have to do it just because they did it. For them, this was a national strategy. They invested hundreds of billions of dollars in this. Do you want to go out there and invest $100 billion worth of money just to support the Chinese economy? I wouldn't do that. Why should we do that? The internal combustible engine is just as efficient, if not more efficient than actually what the electrical vehicles are. It's just that they could build the electrical vehicles cheaper than they could ever build an internal combustion engine. That's why they did it. It was cheaper. They could control the mining, they control everything, but it was always cheaper. So, okay, why would they go out and do the internal combustion engines when they could do the other one cheaper? It's just business, guys. People need to just kind of wake up to just the business side of things. They couldn't do the ICE. They couldn't do it. You understand? They couldn't do it. That's why they went to the electrical system. They could do it, but they couldn't really duplicate it at the level we can do it. So they didn't do it. So simple. All right. There was a thing across my list here. And it really amazes me, frankly, how you have these Zionist forces getting so much airplay on X. So much. There's a post here about Tommy Robinson, the Israeli agent. And it's from Betar Worldwide. I don't know who it is. Betar USA. USA. We urge the United States to grant Tommy Robinson immediate asylum status. ISIS has him on a hit list, and this patriot is in great danger. We confirm we are speaking to elected officials and ask anyone with influence and the ability to help to please do so. Stand with Tommy Robinson. Look, to the Jewish people out there, you guys run the UK. We witnessed for over a decade or more political voices in the UK that if they had an ounce of anti-Israeli sentiments were railroaded out of politics. If they had an ounce of pro-UK anti-immigration, they were railroaded out of politics by these same Jewish groups. Xenophobic, hate-filled, whatever the stupid things they wanted to say. So you Jews run the UK as far as many of us Americans are concerned. As far as we as America concerned, the British, they lost their country. They were so inept as a military, as a foreign service, as a intelligence service internally, as a political class. Collectively, they lost their country. So it's not even the UK anymore. Not as it stands today. However, Tommy Robinson is in the UK. Tommy Robinson belongs to the United Kingdom as a citizen. ISIS is not the UK, although pretty much Jewish groups in the UK behave as a terrorist organization, at least when it comes to speech and freedom of speech. But nonetheless, ISIS is not the UK. It is not for us in America to be granting asylum to a British citizen because ISIS has him on a hit list when it's the UK government that is responsible for his protection. What is it about the Jewish community that allows them to be completely so freaking stupid? Do you not even understand basic common sense? Do you ever notice when we deal with Jewish groups, we're dealing with Jewish groups as if we're at a 5th grade level of intelligence? Randy Fine, you can put up a banner, but we don't want to put up banners because we might distract drivers. We're Jews are so stupid, we can't have a banner up there because we might crash. Maybe we're going to see it filled with hatred and we're going to hit the media and, oh my God. You know what? We're dealing with 5-year-olds and they run our freaking countries. Literally, we are dealing with a 5, 7, 8-year-old mentality. These aren't even adults. They're just a bunch of whining, punky little people that can't handle any type of opposition. They run the show. They're in the kitchen. They're baking the food, and they can't stand the heat, and they don't want to get out of the kitchen. And then they're saying, well, no. And then you say, well, Jews run America. Well, that's hate speech. No, you just told us that your freaking bill that you're putting forward, which is only to support Jews, is going to pass. I guarantee it. I guarantee it. Guess what, guys? The lady of the house. Wait. It has come back. I don't want you to pull. Wait. I don't want you to take my my mic and disconnect it. So she was going to run right through it. Thank you, sweetie. All right. Oh, man, she's going to crash this. I know. Okay. Say hi. Go ahead, say hi. The cat is here, but she's a little bit. Go ahead, say hi. Okay. You don't want to say hi? Yeah. Sorry, guys. The baby. You know, you have babies, and the babies just want to give you attention. I mean, the babies want attention, and like you're busy with something, and the toddler's at your neck. You know, mommy. That's kind of like my cat. She's like, daddy. You know, she just wants the attention. How about right here? Okay. Is that a good place for you? Thank you. Ouch. Claws are sharp. All right. Welcome to Inside the Eye Live. You know what's interesting is we used to have cat reports, you know. And I was listening to the cat report via the LLM, right?
analyzing my shows. And I didn't know this. But if you remember the old days, we had this blind cat by the name of Bruiser. It's a sad thing. I still kind of mourn for this guy. He was a really great cat. And he was blind. He had no teeth. His tongue hang out. Tough as nails, man. He would fight anybody, but he couldn't see, but he would fight anything. So sometimes cats would come in the house, and man, you'd be just tearing up everything left and right. So Bruiser was like this bruising boxer that it just looks like he'd been beat up, right? And I didn't know this, but apparently I told a story about my cat, Bruiser, and the girls in Jordan would tell him, Bruiser, go to sleep. And what Bruiser would do is he would just plop down on his side and he would just fake dead, like he's dead. You know, he's like, and he's dead. And I told that story, and the LLM picked it up, and it's like, well, that's kind of cool. I didn't know that. It was kind of fun to hear that from the LLM. Anyways, back to the Tommy Robinson story. Look, it's not for Tommy Robinson to be sent to the United States because the UK has lost their country and are too stupid to protect their own citizens. And literally, you had a case. Wow, look at you, sweetie. You had a case inside the UK where they voted like a huge number not to go and pursue investigations on all the crimes that immigrants conducted or did against British citizens. All the gang rapes, sex grooming. They actually voted not to do it, not to even investigate because they don't want the immigrants to look bad. Listen, that's, again, the country's taken over. Can you imagine? I can't even imagine that happening here in Saudi Arabia. I can't imagine it. You know, another interesting point, and we got some really great listeners, and they give me a lot of great comments. And one of those had to do with ICE. And the problem with ICE, in my opinion, is it's unprofessional in general. It looks like, it acts like, it smells like an Israeli operation. Let's just go out there, terrorize everybody, the citizens, the non-citizens. Let's show them who's the boss. We're the IDF. We're going to go show all these Palestinians how to behave. And if they do anything at all to get in our way, well, that's violating national security. That's a Jewish mindset, okay? And we're going to put a stop to it, and we're going to threaten them. And half of the time, they're just out there threatening American citizens. And someone said to me, Fetch, but if it happened in Saudi, would the Saudis put up with their citizens out there protesting and following their security forces everywhere they go? And I'm like, you know, the Saudis are smarter than this. First of all, we know that a lot of this is funded, paid protesters. The Saudis would have long ago taken out the organizational level that would even allow all of these protests to happen in the first time or the first place. And guess what? The Saudis are like Americans. They want their country safe. So they want all of this taken care of equally. I'll get more into that, try to explain it more after this. We'll be right back right after this.
Is that a coincidence?
I mean,
that the civilization that built the Western world just happened to choose letters that sum up to the most potent solar number in all of occultism?
it feels like he's seeing a matrix where we just see scratches on paper. It implies design. It implies intentional design.
That's the pencil and paper exercise he talks about. You have to write it down to see the geometry of it. If you just say Roman numerals, you miss it. If you do the math, it stares you right in the face.
So we've got the numbers, we understand summation. Now let's move to section 2, decoding the alphabet. Because he treats the letters themselves as having inherent numerical and geometric values. It's not just about their position.
No, and he starts by critiquing the translations of the Sefer Yetzirah, or the Book of Formation. This is a foundational text in Kabbalah. Standard translations often say the universe was created with writing, number, and word.
But the Fetch says that's wrong. Or at least misleading.
He said it's a bad translation that obscures the code. Word is too complex. Writing is too complex. Those are secondary things. He insists the correct translation is numbers, letters, and sounds.
Numbers, letters, and sounds.
Because you can't have a word without a sound, and you can't have writing without letters. You have to go to the absolute building blocks.
Okay, so numbers, letters, sounds. Let's apply this to the alphabet. Let's start with the letter B.
Okay, so B is the second letter of the alphabet. If we use summation, 1 plus 2 is 3.
Okay, so B corresponds to 3. Simple enough.
Now visualize the capital letter B. What does it look like?
It's a vertical line with 2 loops on the right side.
The fetch says. Look closely. It is a vertical line, a number 1, and a curvy number 3 squished up against it.
Oh, I see it now. You're right. It's literally a 1 and a 3 fused together.
The glyph itself reveals its mathematical value. The shape isn't arbitrary. He says it was designed to hold a number. He does the same with D.
Okay, D is the 4th letter.
And the summation of 4. We just did this one. 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 equals 10.
And D is the 10.
In his view, yes. And visually, if you take a capital D and rotate it 90 degrees to the left, what do you see?
You see a flat line with a curve over it, like a semicircle on a line.
It looks like a sunrise.
A sunrise on the horizon.
And the word 10 connects to D. It's the day. It's the visual archetype of the sun rising, encoded in the shape of the letter that sums to 10. The 10, the day, the D. It's a closed loop of meaning.
That is. It's very creative, but it's strangely consistent. What about H and X? He links those two together constantly.
This is one of the strongest parts of the code, I think. H is the 8th letter. The summation of 1 through 8 is 36.
Okay, 36.
Now, 36 connects to the 6 by 6 magic square. But think about the geometry. What is a 6-sided figure?
A hexagon.
Exactly. H-hex. Hexagon. It's right there in the sound. And the letter X. In the Ecclesian code, H and X are inextricably linked. The X is often a placeholder for that crossover point, the hex. So H8, 36, hexagon. The sound and the math align perfectly.
He also talks about the physical sensation of speaking, like where your tongue hits your mouth. This is the sounds part of that triad, right?
This is where he gets into the hardness and softness of phonetics. He analyzes the dentals, the letters D, T, N, L. If you say them out loud, duh, to, nu, lull your tongue.
Yeah.
It's the exact same spot on the roof of your mouth.
Trying a D, T, N, L. Yeah, it does. Right behind the front teeth.
And then you have the labials, F, V, B. Those use the lips. The fetch argues this isn't random. The code uses hard and soft versions of the same energy. F is a hard sound. V is a soft sound.
And this leads to the Gimel-Camel connection, right? This was a big aha moment for me in understanding why he thinks English is so important.
Right, because in Hebrew, the 3rd letter is Gimel.
Yeah.
And in the Hebrew tradition, Gimel is associated with a camel.
Okay, Gimel, camel.
But the fetch asks, why? Is it just random? He says no. In English, G is the 7th letter. However, phonetically, a hard G like goo is very similar to a hard Sika.
Right. G and C are often swapped in etymology and linguistics.
Exactly. So G shifts to C. Gimel becomes Kimmel, which becomes camel. The esoteric archetype of the camel, hidden in the Hebrew Gimel, is revealed plainly in the...
All right, everybody, welcome back. It's the Fetch. I think I handled that one a little bit better. Let me check real quick. Discord is unmuted. All right. That means everything is good. All right. First of all, again, we are streaming live on Revolution Radio. It is our home base. This is a radio show typically. We are basically, what do we call this? Live streaming, but we're just simulcasting the radio show to you at Rumble. It's really a matter of we had honestly saturated what we could get from Rev Radio. You know, the market was the market, so we had saturated. We were, from what I understand, number 1 there for quite some time, probably still are. And but we were not going to grow any further if we stayed there. So we had to branch out. And we looked at the opportunities available to us. YouTube is a dead end. YouTube does more of the short stuff. So we do long form radio. And Rumble just seemed like the better place for us. Now, do we agree with Dan Bongino all the time? No, but to his credit, he allows people to stream at his platform. He doesn't seem to be that focused on getting people off his platform. Does that mean I'll stay there forever? Who knows? But for now, excuse me, Rumble is doing very, very well for us. So the live stream is, again, just seek out Inside the Eye Live and you'll check out the Rumble. And I'm going to go over to the chat room now. The chat room is moving along okay. No one is talking on Chitango. Okay, well, what can you say? It's very quiet. Chitango's given up, I guess. Yeah, Fetch was on a roll, guys. I was on a roll for sure. Yeah, it's humming people-wise over there at the chat room. So anyways, guys, we have 2 chat rooms. We do have a listener call-in line, 1-213-401-2617. That's 1-213-401-2617. You're free to call in and participate in the show. All right. I have reached out to a leading voice in Europe. She followed me on X, and I reached out to her. And I'm going to try to get her on as a guest. She's a leading voice, anti-immigrant voice in Europe. Very attractive. It's her future. It's her generation's future. And so hopefully we can put something together. I have to reach out to her through her private comms and stuff. But just a heads up there. I hope we can put something like that together for you. All right. There was another big thing. It shows all these Muslim countries out there, right? And it says, so Islam is allowed to have their own nations, but Jews can't have that tiny red sliver our Bible says God gave them. Well, first of all, you guys are lunatics to believe that. But second of all, you guys control Spain, you control the UK, you control Britain, you control the United States, you control New Zealand, you control Australia. Why don't you first paint all of the Western world red as your tiny little sliver, and then get back to us in the morning when you finish drawing it all in with your crayon? Because again, the gaslighting is insane. How about this to the Jewish people? You want to whine about your tiny little sliver. How about this? You get out of our countries equally. Get out of Europe, get out of the United States, get out of every country that is controlled by you guys. Just get out so we can have our tiny little sliver of land, whether it's the United States, the UK, can't call it Great Britain anymore, France, Germany, Sweden, whatever. How about you get out and let us have our tiny slice of land? See, it's like Jews are like always about us. Frankly, I don't like this way. Always about you. And everything about the Jewish community is about Jews. It's all about Jews. Nothing about the rest of the people, nothing about what their policies might do to somebody else, how their policies might harm a nation, a social construction, whatever you want to call it. Jews don't have any empathy for the harm that the harm that they cause. I can talk. They don't have any empathy for any of that. And yet all the time they spend their waking days whining to us and all their social media platforms about how oy vey, woe is us, and we can't even have our small sliver. Oh, bullshit. You control the UK. You control the United States. We do get some wins, okay? We get some wins in America. I do get that. And I'm not going to be critical of the wins. But for the most part, when we have congressmen running around our country saying any criticism of Israel is a third-degree felony and 5 years in jail, don't tell us about your small sliver of land. You control Florida. Your own governor is up there literally today saying the state of Florida stands with Israel. Okay? Local governments are forced by the state to send their local money to Jews in Israel. What do you think? That's acceptable to us? And you want to sit there and whine about your stupid sliver of land when you control all these cities? If I boycott Israel out of conscience, you want to tell me I'm not allowed to get a contract from my own country? And you want to whine to me, literally, about your small sliver of land when you control my legislature? Again, are you Jews out of your frickin' minds? Do you even grasp? Are you so tone deaf that you completely don't understand what you're telling the American people? Because the answer to that is yes, they are that tone deaf. Because in a Jewish world, it's Jews. And if you don't say Jews enough, guess what? Say it some more. Jews. No, more Jews. It's just us Jews. It's unbelievable. Frankly, it's unbelievable. It just never ends. I want to get back to the Saudi issue. And this is Michael. Michael, I'm going to give you a shout out here. I like Michael. He's been probably one of my better supporters, really, out there. So thank you, Michael, for that. He says here, Fetch, let's say for the sake of argument that crazed Saudi civilian protesters stood in front of Saudi border patrol with their AKs drawn
throwing trash and other obstacles at them, openly refusing them to kill and remove illegals, with Saudi border patrol agents open fire and forcibly remove them. During that forcible removal, would there be some violence and perhaps a few casualties given how crazy the protesters are? Then he says on, look, I'm not discounting the ties between the IDF, but it's a simple fact of observation. These BLM Antifa protesters are doing their best to obstruct an internal federal operation. And they don't follow commands. They're not peaceful. Okay, that I agree. They're not peaceful. But here's the thing. In the United States, we have allowed, under the guise of democracy, this idea that you can fund an opposition to do what you're witnessing. In Saudi, they're not going to worry about it at the protester level because you're swatting flies. They're going to take out the key infrastructure. So all of these people that would have been organizing these events, funding these events, nurturing these groups, those people would have what they called been sent to the other side of the sun. Now, in Saudi Arabia, you have a concept called being sent to the other side of the sun. We have it too, believe me. We have it in America. It's just a different term. All governments have it. Don't let me kid you. I'm just sharing with you this government, how it works here as a linguistic structure. So what you have is, if, for instance, you had Walid bin Talal. Walid bin Talal was working heavily with Hillary Clinton. He was working heavily with these democracy education groups out of Las Vegas, training people to be activists on how to protest and training all of that. Khashoggi was a part of the network. Do you really want law and order? Then you have to go after these people. That means that, you know, if it's a sitting congressman doing it, then again, you have the mafia. It's called the state. And you can do what you need to do. Come on. Hey, come on. You can do what you can do. See, the thing is, Americans don't want American government, okay? Both sides. They don't want to deal with each other at that level. The U.S. government doesn't want to go after the left and the money and the protest and all that, because basically these are colleagues in the mass chaos. They're just inflicting on the American people. At the end of the day, both sides are benefiting from it. So it's like, okay, we're not going to go after the bad guys on the other side. We'll just go after all the protesters that they create. So we have to look at this from a larger geopolitical strategic point of view. If you really want to govern effectively and put an end to this nonsense that we see, 100%, we have to go after the funding networks. And you know what? If people die in this process, that's part of the real war. Because now the real elites are going to be doing the dying. Not the poor little woman on the street. Did she run into the ICE officer or not? And then the ICE officer, let's be honest, a lot of them are just gung-ho morons. They're looking for a fight. They're looking to kill people. They're looking to harm people. Let's not kid anybody here. All right? But it's all happening, and we're just dealing with basically wiping the counter with a dirty rag and pretending we're doing something. And we're not doing anything. And the fact is, in my opinion, okay, that the two elites, at the end of the day, they don't want to hurt each other. They don't want to go after each other. So we're always dealing with wiping the table with a dirty rag, and we can never get anything accomplished. It's never going to get cleaned up because the system is designed not to go after the other elite. How long do you have to put up with these protests? If you have protesters going down, literally causing billions, many billions of dollars, like the BLM riots in 2020, and we know that they're being funded, why weren't they just taken out? You know what? I can't even send $600 out of a country without them asking for so many questions. Yet you're going to allow billions of dollars to funnel into various groups like BLM and others, so they can go protest in your country? And you're not going to do anything about that money? As if somehow we can't even spend $2,000 without having our total credibility called upon. Well, you're spending $2,000? Hell, the billionaires out there buying $600 million yachts, all right? And we can't even spend $600? And somehow we're supposed to worry about these frickin' people at the highest level? Because they're the real problem. They're the ones funding this mess. In Saudi Arabia, they already support their government when it comes to immigration. So anybody that would be funding this problem would have been dealt with a long time ago. And they were dealt with a long time ago. When they took out Walid bin Talal back in the what do you call this? The Ritz-Carlton project, that was part of why they took him out. He was working with Hillary for this type of protesting. That's one of the reasons he was taken. So the issue isn't whether or not, Saudi will have these rioters and yada yada. If they had it, yeah, it would be pretty bad situation, probably. All right? Would they start shooting them? Actually, probably not. If they were Saudi citizens, probably not. Because they know if they did something like that, you're going to piss off the tribes. You're going to have an extended tribal warfare start to happen. The last thing that the government of Saudi would want is a bunch of tribes getting pissed off at the central authorities, which are also a bunch of tribes. And no, I don't think they would actually start shooting them up. They would deal with it in the Saudi way, and it would not be in the way you're seeing it done now. All right? If they were immigrants, I'm talking about Pakistanis and Indians and all of these type of people out there protesting, would they then do something? Well, okay, they're not Saudis. There's no tribes going to get pissed off. Yeah, maybe the Indian government and the ambassador gets a little upset. Okay, inshallah, okay, thank you. And then forget it. So no, I don't think you would have the same problems here in Saudi. Number one, the government isn't so stupid. See, you got Trump running around right now. All this power. He's got control of the House. He's got control of the Senate. He can appoint all of his people. And what's he appoint? Nothing but a bunch of pro-Israel Zionist nutcases. And then they can't solve anything other than trying to do it in an IDF way. And then the irrationalists who are pro-American, America first, we're supposed to just stand by idly while this IDF insurgency by the Trump administration runs over, literally, guys, there is no, there's no excuse. Zero excuse for an ICE officer to just be randomly calling people out on the street. If you don't know who you're going after, then what the hell are you doing there? It tells me you have zero intelligence. You're just fishing. You're just throwing out a net. No, I hope I catch something today. That ain't freaking professional. And that's because the United States has zero intelligence on the inside. They're too busy trafficking kids, too busy selling drugs, too busy covering for the elite. They don't have any freaking decent intelligence. And whatever intelligence they have, they like, oh, we got to let that go because this senator is making too much money with the kids coming out of this district. We can't. So again, excuse me. I know it's all hypothetical and would it happen in Saudi? Honestly, I would say no. If it were Saudis, no. Honestly, no. And then it would be an embarrassment, a huge embarrassment for the Saudi government to allow it to get to this level. It means a total failure of the government itself. The government is responsible for immigration policy in the kingdom. All right? They deported something like last 2.5 weeks, 24,000 people. Literally 24,000 people. No protest, no nothing, just very hush, hush, hush. 24,000 people left this country. Now, it's a small country. We have maybe 11 or 12 million expatriates out of a 32 million population. So 20 million, 21 million Saudis, right around 10 to 11 million expatriates. Last week, they took out 22,000. Did you hear any protests? Did you hear any whining? Did you hear anything? No, it's all done professionally, quietly, efficiently. You don't have these goons out there with their guns, stopping people, banging on the cars. What's the matter with you frickin' people? Are you that idiots? See, this is not professional intelligence. It is not professional security business. These are just a bunch of moron goons out there doing what they're doing because, hey, we're going to take back the streets. Whatever, dude. All right, whatever. You sound like you're playing a football game and you're going to go take back the field and you're not winning because you're losing people like us who would support you. But we see an IDF operation when we see an IDF operation. I'm not voting for the IDF to start taking over my country. Screw that. We already have Randy Fine calling for people to be jailed for 5 years for flying a banner. Oh, you can fly a banner, but we don't want you to do that because you might distract people. I ought to take pictures of Riyadh here. I swear to God, I'm thinking, I'm thinking this. I'm like a Randy Fine driving down the freeway. Man, this is kind of distracting. Sometimes it actually is because you got literally glitzy. Think about Las Vegas on every freaking overpass. Creative graphics, blinking lights, and like, okay, yeah, that's distracting. But if you do it for hatred, whatever, dudes. Again, it's at this stage, it's a whatever. These people are morons. They're idiots. They're 7-year-olds. They need to be kicked out of our country. I mean, literally, definitely, they cannot be in power. We're allowing children to run the country. We're allowing amateurs to handle the security. All this Epstein stuff. Did you see the interview with Epstein this week? You have Pam Bondi being talked about the Epstein files and all the redactions. I saw the other day an arrest by the FBI, and it was really true, too. There was a box on the guy's head. Like he looked like he was redacted being thrown into the freaking car. All right. So now we're doing redacted arrests, okay? We just put like a redacted box. Yeah, we're joking, but that's a meme floating out there. Because everything the FBI does is, quote unquote, redacted. You're talking about some of the most horrendous crimes against our children. And we're supposed to look the other way because Pam Bondi says, well, the Dow's at 50,000. Why aren't we talking about that? Your job is to do the law enforcement, Pam. Your job isn't to talk about the economy. We're dealing, what is the matter with these people? I honestly don't get it. I mean, I do get it, but you can't say the word moron often enough. We had a case where a Catholic woman, all right? And this is the head it's going to come to. It's going to get worse because they did this in the UK also. Carrie Prejean Bowler is a Catholic. She was removed this week from the Religious Liberty Commission following public demands from Laura Loomer. So now Laura Loomer, another Israeli agent, is speaking for all of us. Laura Loomer gets to decide who is going to be on what group. President Trump actually assigned this woman to. But a Jewish princess, and Laura Loomer's an amazingly attractive Jewish princess, okay? I mean, wow. Stunning, okay? And this stunningly beautiful Jewish princess, Laura Loomer, looks like she came right out of a gefilte fish fan, out of the can. And she's now getting people to be removed. And they did the same thing to the British. And the next thing you know, Britain's taken over. We had another encounter of a Catholic woman. She's sitting up there in Congress, and she's asking the Jewish people, hey, I'm a Catholic. I don't support Israel. There's nothing that says I need to support Israel. Are you saying that I'm an anti-Semite? And here's how some of the exchange went.
And Catholics do not embrace Zionism, just so you know.
Let it be universally recognized that the state of Israel has the right to exist and to enjoy peace and security within internationally agreed borders.
I'm a Catholic, and Catholics do not embrace Zionism, just so you know.
Sia universalmente riconosciuto che lo Stato di Israele ha il diritto di esistere e di godere pace e sicurezza.
So what they're showing here is that you had two popes saying that Israel has a universal right to exist. No country has a right to exist, period. Actually, Israel has zero right to exist. Israel is a fabrication of international law. Under that law, certain covenants and conditions were included in the law in the formation of that country. It was very clear from day 2.5, maybe even hour 2.5,
that Jews engaged in fraudulent negotiations, and consequently any fraud vitiates the contract. So Israel has no right to exist. When you really study the case of Israel, it has zero right to exist. And as Adolf Hitler would say, remember, we couldn't talk about Adolf Hitler. He's becoming more popular now because people are putting his words into English and listening to what he had to say. Listen, Jews didn't want Israel for Israel. They wanted to be basically a redoubt for all of their international crimes. But this woman is saying, look, am I an anti-Semite? And she's really addressing these Jews right there in the Congress. And they're like basically trying to say, if you don't support Israel, you're quote unquote an anti-Semite. Okay, fine. We are anti-Semites, but this is an absolutely great thing. It's an amazingly good thing. If you are not an anti-Semite, you should not be in Congress. All right? The name means nothing except for what you Jews defined it as. So let us redefine it as common sense. If you are not an anti-Semite, you have no business in Congress. If you fight against anti-Semitism, you're engaging in hate crimes. If you fight against those who are anti-Jewish, you are engaging in subterfuge against the American Republic and our traitors to our country. Again, if this is the way you want to play the game, we will label it ourselves and we will then redefine it and turn it back. Nobody who opposes anti-Semitism should be in any position. They should be kicked out of the banks. They should be kicked out of the schools. If you don't support anti-Semitism at this stage, based on the definitions Jews want to use, then you do not deserve to even have a place at the table in the United States. Because guess what? That's exactly what they're saying to everybody else. If you're an anti-Semite, you don't deserve to be at the table. Okay, if you support, if you do not reject Jews, you don't deserve a place in the table. It's just an inversion of their reality. We're not doing anything different. We're just taking their twisted Jews first reality and honestly just turn it 180 degrees and just saying, all right, fine. If we're going to use the word anti-Semite, it is a positive thing. It's a great thing. If you're opposed to anti-Semitism, you're a hate-filled, xenophobic, racist, treasonous person to the American people. Only the anti-Semites are the ones speaking the truth now. And where did it say I got to support Israel? Israel is a shitty country with shitty people, with shitty laws, with shitty ethics. And frankly, it's worse than that. It's worse than that. It is one of the most diabolically evil constructions on the planet today. Frankly, if you rid the country of this energy, and I'm talking about the entire energy, I bet you the place would become far more peaceful. It's kind of like Henry Ford said back in the International Jew Days, 1920s. You know, if you eliminate the top 50 Jewish people in the world, wars would cease tomorrow. Okay, now it's bigger. Okay, so maybe we have to eliminate the first 160, 400 Jewish people, and maybe we wouldn't have all the problems in America today. You would not have a BLM. You wouldn't have all these riots against ICE. You wouldn't have all these policies that try to convert simple speech into quote-unquote hate speech so Jews can jail everybody, so their racket can continue. At this stage, guys, it's all words. It's words and how we agree to use the words. Listen, Jews came up, if you don't know modern linguistics.
The centerpiece of the Icesian Code. It's where he takes all these little rules, summation, wordplay, and builds a massive cosmological proof out of them.
So break it down. He challenges us and the listener to find the Great Arch.
The Great Arch is the Platonic cycle, or the precession of the equinoxes. It's the 25,920-year cycle of the Earth's wobble. Ancient civilizations spent centuries calculating this number. The fetch says you can derive it just by looking at the names of 3 zodiac signs: Gemini, Scorpio, and Pisces.
Just the names.
Just the English names. Let's walk through the math. First, Gemini.
Okay, Gemini.
The fetch breaks down the word. The Gemini, the jewel in the eye. What is the gem in the eye? He says it is the Greek letter pi, the circle.
Okay, that's a bit of a leap, but let's go with it.
It is, but it's part of the code. Mathematically, though, Gemini is the 3rd sign of the zodiac. What is the summation of 3?
1 + 2 + 3 = 6.
So the value of Gemini is 6. Keep that number in your head. Gemini equals 6.
Got it. Gemini is 6.
Next, Scorpio. He breaks this down phonetically as score pi times 10.
Score pi by 10. Okay.
Now, Scorpio is the 8th sign, but it appears in the 10th month. October. Octo means 8, but it's the 10th month.
Right. There's that tension between the 8
Yeah.
and the 10.
So you have this 8-10 interplay. If you take the summation of the 8th month summing 1 all the way through 8, you get 36.
Okay, 36.
Now apply the instruction from the name. Score pi times 10, multiply that 36 by 10, you get 360.
Which is the degrees of a circle.
So Scorpio equals 360.
Okay, so we have Gemini is 6, Scorpio is 360, and finally Pisces.
Pisces is the 12th sign. Simple value, 12, no tricks there.
So we have 6, 360, and 12.
Now do the math. 6 from Gemini times 360 from Scorpio equals 2,160.
2,160, that's the length of one astrological age, isn't it? Like the age of Pisces or the age of Aquarius?
It is. It's the length of one zodiacal month in the great year. Now multiply that by 12 from Pisces. 2,160 times 12 equals
25,900 and 920.
the Great Arch, the Platonic cycle. He derives the entire cosmic time cycle just from the English names of 3 zodiac signs using the summation code.
Yeah, whether you believe it's intentional or not, the math actually works. You can't argue with the calculation.
It works perfectly. And his implication is that this demonstrates know thyself. The structure of the universe is hidden in the very names we use for the stars. It implies that whoever named these signs in English knew this math.
It's incredible. And he finds this pi code everywhere. Section 4 touches on the who, how, hop, and the pi sequence he finds in basic questions.
He loves analyzing the W questions, what, when, why, who, where. He analyzes the vowels in those words, A, E, I, O, U.
Okay, so the primary vowels.
Right, A is 1, E is 5, I is 9. U, if you sum 1 through 6, you get 21. U is the 21st letter, so U connects to 6. O is the second vowel in the second half of the alphabet, so he gets the value of 2.
So we have 1, 5, 9, 2, 6. These are digits of pi.
Right. He arranges them to extract 3.1415926. He says the questions we ask, what, where, why, are encoded with the geometry of the circle. We're literally boxing reality in with pi every time we ask a question.
And then there's the who, how, hop. This felt like a bit of linguistic gymnastics, but it was fun to follow.
It comes from his reading of the Epic of Gilgamesh. He looks at the question, who? Who is the 4th question in the standard list?
What, when, why, who. Yep, number 4.
And what happens every 4 years?
A leap year.
A leap? So he takes the word who and he leaps the W from the front to the back. WHO becomes HOW, how.
So who becomes how through a leap year code?
Exactly. And he connects this to Gilgamesh. He decodes the name of the figure Gilgamesh visits, a guy named Utnapishtim. He reads it backwards and claims it phonetically spells out Miss Pi and you.
Miss Pi and you, okay.
And English. He claims if you shuffle Gilgamesh, remove the H, which he says represents pi or narration in his system, you can rearrange the remaining letters to spell English.
So the Epic of Gilgamesh, the oldest written story, contains the code English, Miss Pi and you. It's like he's seeing a fractal, where the whole story is contained in just one name.
That's the Gemini complex he talks about, the ability to see these spinning connections. He believes that the word English echoes back through time, that it was always the destination of this ancient code.
Let's move to Section 5, the fix of the universe. This goes back to the Sefer Yetzirah and the idea of locking the directions of reality.
This is very metaphysical. The text speaks of the Creator sealing the universe in 6 directions, up, down, north, south, east, west. And he does this using permutations of the divine name, usually YHV or IHV, things like that.
But the fetch zeroes in on one specific permutation, the 9th seal.
Right. The sequence VIH.
VIH. Okay, let's run it through the ISEN machine.
V is phonetic for VU.
Okay, everybody, welcome back. Temporary technical difficulties, as we sometimes have here on Inside the Eye Live. But hopefully we'll solve them. And we are back. I don't know if we lost the Rumble feed, but I believe we are now back on Revolution Radio. And let's see if we're still live over on Rumble. 48 people still waiting. Okay. I believe we're going back live. I believe we are live. As you say, inshallah, locally. So I believe we're inside. I have to change the title of this too, by the way. I used a template from 1/17/26 to get it going because I just got home late. And I believe we're live. Let's see here. Let me check the stream. And stop streaming, stop recording. I can't stop. I believe it's live. I believe it's live. Man, that lighting really sucks today. Like, damn, it's so bright. I look so freaking... We didn't do anything different. We actually turned all the lights off. And the camera, for whatever reason, is like blaring. It makes me look like Whatever. All right. So, guys, I think we're live on Rumble. I'm actually just waiting to check to see. Let's see here. Are we live? It doesn't say we're live. It doesn't say we're live, but I think we're live. Rumble. Just check. Just be patient, guys. Let me just check this real fast. Just a few more keystrokes here. Inside the eye live. And 71. OBS just connected. There you go. Okay, so you're going to be live very, very shortly, guys. And now it says live. Okay, awesome. We lost a huge amount of listeners with that problem, but anyways, it happens. All right. We had a technical issue with the internet. It went down. My phone just died. It was not charging. I got to probably replace the phone soon. Out. Get out. You're making a problem. I got cats playing with wires down below, and I think they disconnected my wire. Did you disconnect it? They just pulled the phone on the phone on the floor. Hold on. Get out. It looks like they did not disconnect it this time. Okay. Anybody remember the show in Jordan, like in 2011? I had all these kittens and they chew through the wire. And like there goes the show. I was back in Oracle Broadcasting. Those were the days, guys. Anyways, I will fix the date here later. The name of the show later after the show, because it's wrong. It should say 2:14. It should say 2:14. So anyways, we are back now. Okay, live. That wasn't easy. Laura Loomer. Again, gets this woman banned from a Catholic charity thing. Not a charity, but a interfaith thing, which to me is all nonsense anyways. You had, what's his name? Nick Fuentes. He was saying here that it says here, Laura Loomer puts out this, in another example of the Catholic-Islamic alliance that is trying to push Islam into the West. No, actually, we're not trying to push Islam into the West. What we're trying to do is push Jews out of the West. The problem isn't Islam initially. The problem has always been Jewish policies, straight up. And again, if you're against Qatar, well, too bad. Again, you want to make it against the law to be against Israel. So just go, go flame yourself, lady. It's like whatever, Actually, people are quite sick of, I don't know if you're sick of Laura Loomer. I'm actually fairly sick of Laura Loomer myself. Yeah. All right. Wow. Can you imagine that? Wow. You've got a video here. This is how literally he should be arrested. Randy Fine, as you know, is an Israeli agent. Straight up. And they were doing a bill for outlawing Israeli boycotts. And do you realize they have this guy literally on video walking around the empty tables and actually voting for other members of Congress? Can you believe that? How is this guy not arrested? So what I mean, we can talk about people on the streets and protesting and all this nonsense, but there's never any repercussions between the two elite sides. How the hell does this Israeli agent get elected to our Congress, and now we have him on videotape, if this is correct, literally voting, going around the empty seats and clicking the votes to register votes for people who aren't even sitting at the table. And you look at his mannerisms, he looks like he's trying to be so sly, he looks guilty as sin, and he knows what he's doing, and of course he knows what he's doing. But can you imagine that? He's actually doing that. Like, what the hell, man? Seriously, what the hell? Voting illegally
for other people of Congress when they weren't present. What the frickin' hell? And again, you want to go worry about some lady getting shot or not shot. That's not a big problem we have. It's at the elite level. And again, it won't work if we don't deal with these elites. As far as Laura Loomer talking about how I was trying to bring in Muslims. There's a and there's many clips like this. Let's not kid ourselves. Many clips. Well, there's a Jewish rabbi saying, what I told you earlier is written in the Sanhedrin. The Mashiach will only come when Edom, Europe, and Christianity will be destroyed completely. So the good news is that Islam invades, and it's Europe. It's excellent news. The Moshiach announcement will come basically after Islam destroys Europe. I mean, so we get this from the Jewish community all the time. They're very quite frankly happy with all of this stuff. To be honest with you. And let's be honest, we've had Ted Cruz, talk about how he's basically there to
State Senate. And I've worked every day to do that. I came into Congress 13 years ago with the stated intention of being the leading defender of Israel in the United States Senate. And I've worked every day to do that. I came into Congress 13 years ago with the stated intention of being the leading defender of Israel in the United States Senate. And I've worked every day to do that. I came in.
Yeah, I got you. You said that. All right. Another issue, guys, going on out there is what's happening in Australia. For some reason, I have my metaphysical reasons. All right. These are purely metaphysical reasons. And what I believe, and it's a metaphysical thing, is that in the earliest days of the creation of the Western esoteric systems, the English language was infused with a very erudite, rational, hyper-rational, Kabbalistic formulation that basically makes English a cryptological tool that preserves a lot of wisdom and a lot of knowledge. For instance, if I take the orbit of Venus, it's 225 days. V is the 22 letter, E is the 5th letter. Well, VE means 225, and Nus is just sun in reverse. So the word tells us 225 days around the sun. It's very simple. The word zodiac is just an anagram for Catoese, which is, if you concatenate the number, it's 3.1415926. These are what I call overt codes. They're so easy to see. They're not even barely hidden. And our system was always designed to spit in the face of Jewish irrationality, to put it nicely. And it does, even to this day, because the alphabet still stands. But there was a war on to destroy everything about Western civilization, and it starts right there with our words and our alphabet. So there's always been this metaphysical linguistic war going on inside of the West for control of our language. If you notice, everywhere where English is prevalent, and it's not just English, by the way, now, but everywhere where English is prevalent, we have nothing but Jews lording over the language, trying to impose their descriptions of everything, trying to impose their definitions, whatever you want to call it, but they want to lord over the language. And the reason's obvious, because if they can control the language, they can control your perceptions. If they control your perceptions, they can control your reality. If they control your reality, they control your beliefs. If they control your beliefs, they control how you actually interact with the world, including them. So it's a very big issue for them to control the language. Our language defies this level of control once you understand it. Because the more you listen to Jewish people speak, the more you realize that these are actually, on a metaphysical plane, some of the dumbest people in the universe. And I'm not talking about on Earth, in the universe. They come from a realm that is so dark, so sinister, so obsessive, so stupid that it actually defies logic. I mean, we see just now Randy Fine going out there voting for other people on video. We have it. Is that a smart person? You know why he gets away with it? Because he gets away with it. He should be smashed now. They should literally send in the FBI and literally take this guy out. But what? They all want to hide behind what? Words. Everybody's hiding behind words. So, okay, if the people want to protest on the street and get paid to protest, what are they using? A lot of words. Using a lot of action too, but a lot of words. So rather than deal with the Randy Fines of the world, we got a bunch of goons breaking cars, just randomly pulling out people out of cars. That's not professional, guys. You should know who you're going after. Because if you don't know who you're going after as an ICE agent, guess what? Then you shouldn't be going after anybody. We're not here to do a Palestinian massive sweep. Do your intelligence, get the numbers, get the IDs, and then go take them out. It's a little bit slower. It's quieter. It's cleaner. People aren't going to realize what's going on because you've got the data. You can go ahead and stage this and come in the backside, finish your operation. Quietly, efficiently, with little brains. I don't need some knucklehead with an 85 IQ. Just came off, I don't know, playing, I don't know what games these guys play, Call of Duty or something. Think he's the new Rambo, but he's going after American citizens. What's that? I'm supposed to be impressed? I'm not, guys. I travel the world. I see how they do it. Okay? I'm just not impressed. It just tells me you don't have any intelligence. I'm not saying it's brains. They don't have an intelligence network. How can you have access to all these phone data, all these records, all this spying they do on everybody in America, yet they can't pull this information and just start taking people out? They can go and get all the J6 people quietly, effectively, efficiently, but you can't do that to all these people that are immigrants in America who are working typically without a bank account, or let's say without a Social Security, or let's say it's a fraudulent Social Security. With AI today, you can run the Social Security numbers and you would know instantly what's fake or what's not fake. Put the right algorithm in there, give it the right data, the damn thing will tell you within about 35 seconds. So why are we making a big deal out of all this? Randy Fine, amazing guy. Randy, no, Kushner. Kushner is
according to the strict law of the Torah, not one Gentile in the world deserves to live. So technically, according to the strict law of the Torah, not one Gentile in the world according to the strict law of the Torah, not one Gentile in the world deserves to live.
Okay, that's Jared Kushner's rabbi, guys. You're going to tell me that's not extremist? You're going to sit there and preach to us about all this extremism, how I can't hang a banner from a freeway because I might distract the Jews who don't know how to drive. How about this? Let's just remove all the driver's license from Jews then. You're too distracted because of all the hatred up there? Okay, don't drive. Remove their license. Remove their privilege to drive. Take public transportation. And you know what? Put some eyeglasses that don't let you see. Blind yourself because, we want to listen to your bullshit anymore. But here's Randy or Jared Kushner's rabbi, literally in a speech saying that all Gentiles just don't deserve to live. You're going to tell me about Islamic extremism. And here are the leaders of the Jewish community declaring literally that, according to us, there should be a genocide against all non-Jews. And yet they talk about extremism all the day. Let's talk about Jewish extremism. All right, let's stop the nonsense in our countries. If we don't have Jews, we don't have the Islamic problem. If we don't have Jews, we could then have our own self-determination. If Jews want their own self-determination, we want our self-determination. None of this is that complicated. Really, it's none of it. You know, it says here that Tommy Robinson, the Jewish operative, patriotic Englishman he's considered, says they had to flee Britain with his family because of an ISIS plot against their lives. Okay, MI5, MI6, Scotland Yard. Is this true? Are you so inept in your own country that you don't even control anymore? That there's an ISIS operation literally going on inside of your country to where one of your greatest Israeli first patriots had to flee for his life from a foreign agent cell that's not even British that you should be able to identify? Okay. Do you see all the nonsense coming out of the media nowadays? Literally, you're telling us that the Jewish intelligence services are complete buffoons and idiots. That's what you're saying. Yeah, MI5, we're too busy tracking down offensive statements about the LGBTQ community. But there's an ISIS cell working over here, another Pakistani/Islamic group over here of kids planning some suicide, not even a suicide, just a machete attack. But I got 15 stupid cops high on LGBTQ ideology. Excuse me. Did you post this on social media yesterday? It says that Jews are the people behind the LGBTQ movement. Did you post that? I would like to know, because this is highly offensive to the Jewish community. And we are going to have to take you in for questioning. In the meantime, you hear screams down the road, 15 people being stabbed. Another ISIS agent cell is carrying out some type of bombing. And these guys are sitting there going, you do not need to protest any further. We have this on record that, this is your face and this is your Facebook account. Is this not correct? Oh, this is terrible. The Campaign Against Anti-Semitism, they have lodged 15 complaints against you. And because my commander take this so difficult, we have had to come out to arrest you for clearly offensive statements. Do you need to grab anything like your toothbrush before we take you in? I mean, maybe they offered the toothbrush, right? And that's the UK. It's nonsense. And they're literally serious. You ever watch the UK police operate? They come out, LGBTQ car, got the flags flying. Car doors are decked out in the LGBTQ flags. They hop out. 3 of them you see are openly gay. Women pretty much look like lesbians also. So it's like an LGBTQ mafia coming out to arrest the non-LGBTQ people of the country because of comments. So, yeah, it's all insane. So, Tucker Carlson, of course, has been very busy. I like what Tucker's been doing. A lot of people, there are a fair amount say he's not really on our side. But I like what he's doing.
There is a very well-organized, very well-funded effort to eliminate the white population of Europe. And You're not allowed to notice it. You'll be punished by police and courts you pay for if you notice what's happening to your ancestors' homelands. Who is pushing this?
It's the question of all questions, right? But honestly, I don't know. I can't.
She's a politician. And it's like, I don't know who's pushing it. Are you that naive, really?
Answer that question.
Pretty disqualifying. You want to be a pro-white activist or whatever, like a pro-European. How would she frame it? I'm for European sovereignty or something like that. Can't just call yourself pro-white. Dude, imagine you could put my brain in her body. Imagine what we could accomplish if I looked like that. I'd be getting invited on Tucker Carlson. Listen, I think blaming everything on Jews is overly simplistic, but if you can't give Jews an honorable mention in that exact context, like, give me a break. What are we even doing? You can't mention Jews are part of the equation even when we're talking about why are white people suicidal? Like, what happened here?
All right, everybody.
There is a very well organized...
The message is out there. It's getting out further. It's The Fetch, everybody. Back with more right after this.
Head instead of
English names. Let's walk through the math. First, Gemini.
Okay, Gemini.
The Fetch breaks down the word. The Gemini, the jewel in the eye. What is the gem in the eye? He says it is the Greek letter pi, the circle.
Okay, that's a bit of a leap, but let's go with it.
It is, but it's part of the code. Mathematically, though, Gemini is the third sign of the zodiac. What is the summation of 3?
1 + 2 + 3 = 6.
So the value of Gemini is 6. Keep that number in your head. Gemini equals 6.
Got it. Gemini is 6.
Next, Scorpio. He breaks this down phonetically as score pi times 10.
Score pi by 10. Okay.
Now, Scorpio is the 8th sign, but it appears in the 10th month, October. Octo means 8, but it's the 10th month.
Right. There's that tension between the 8 and the 10.
So you have this 8-10 interplay. If you take the summation of the 8th month summing 1 all the way through 8, you get 36.
Okay, 36.
Now apply the instruction from the name. Score pi times 10, multiply that 36 by 10, you get 360.
Which is the degrees of a circle.
So Scorpio equals 360.
Okay, so we have Gemini is 6, Scorpio is 360, and finally Pisces.
Pisces is the 12th sign. Simple value, 12, no tricks there.
So we have 6, 360, and 12.
Now do the math. 6 from Gemini times 360 from Scorpio equals 2,160.
2,160, that's the length of one astrological age, isn't it? Like the age of Pisces or the age of Aquarius?
It is. It's the length of one zodiacal month in the great year. Now multiply that by 12 from Pisces. 2,160 times 12 equals
25,920.
the Great Arch, the Platonic cycle. He derives the entire cosmic time cycle just from the English names of 3 zodiac signs using the summation code.
Whether you believe it's intentional or not, the math actually works. You can't argue with the calculation.
It works perfectly. And his implication is that this demonstrates know thyself. The structure of the universe is hidden in the very names we use for the stars. It implies that whoever named these signs in English knew this math.
It's incredible. And he finds this pi code everywhere. Section 4 touches on the who, how, hop, and the pi sequence he finds in basic questions.
He loves analyzing the W questions, what, when, why, who, where. He analyzes the vowels in those words, A, E, I, O, U.
Okay, so the primary vowels.
Right, A is 1, E is 5, I is 9. U, if you sum 1 through 6, you get 21. U is the 21st letter, so U connects to 6. O is the second vowel in the second half of the alphabet, so he gets the value of 2.
So we have 1, 5, 9, 2, 6. These are digits of pi.
Right. He arranges them to extract 3.1415926. He says the questions we ask, what, where, why, are encoded with the geometry of the circle. We're literally boxing reality in with pi every time we ask a question.
And then there's the who, how, hop. This felt like a bit of linguistic gymnastics, but it was fun to follow.
It comes from his reading of the Epic of Gilgamesh. He looks at the question, who? Who is the 4th question in the standard list?
What, when, why, who. Yep, number 4.
And what happens every 4 years?
A leap year.
A leap? So he takes the word who, and he leaps the W from the front to the back. WHO becomes HOW, how.
So who becomes how through a leap year code.
Exactly. And he connects this to Gilgamesh. He decodes the name of the figure Gilgamesh visits, a guy named Utnapishtim. He reads it backwards and claims it phonetically spells out Miss Pi and you.
Miss Pi and you, okay.
And English. He claims if you shuffle Gilgamesh, remove the H, which he says represents pi or narration in his system, you can rearrange the remaining letters to spell English.
So the Epic of Gilgamesh, the oldest written story, contains the code English, Miss Pi and you. It's like he's seeing a fractal, where the whole story is contained in just one name.
That's the Gemini complex he talks about, the ability to see these spinning connections. He believes that the word English echoes back through time, that it was always the destination of this ancient code.
Let's move to Section 5, the fix of the universe. This goes back to the Sefer Yetzirah and the idea of locking the directions of reality.
This is very metaphysical. The text speaks of the Creator sealing the universe in 6 directions: up, down, north, south, east, west. And he does this using permutations of the divine name, usually YHV or IHV, things like that.
But the fetch zeroes in on one specific permutation, the ninth seal.
Right. The sequence VIH.
VIH. Okay, let's run it through the ICED machine.
V is phonetic for VU.
All right, everybody, welcome back. Trying to fix the lighting, man. It's like so bad this week. I have no clue what happened. I say I don't have a clue. It's like, what the hell, man? What the hell? Now I got this big freaking thing on my side. I tell you. That's why I did radio for years, man. I didn't have to worry about all this stuff. Look at that. I can't get it to go away. Hey. I got guys trying to start a fight here. They probably want to eat. Okay, but yeah, the audio video call is terrible. But thanks for showing up again at Rumble. We've had a pretty good show. We apologize. We're having a great show until I had the 15-minute or 7-minute break there with the lost signal for my internet. And if you're not familiar with the fetch here, this happens a lot. You know, we try not to have it happen, but it happens fair enough. Most of the audience, they understand this very well. They stick through it, knowing that the fetch is coming back. He will fix it, even though it's difficult. He will fix it, and he usually does. And in this case, sure enough, we fixed it, and away there is. All right. Interesting how many Charlie Kirk sound bites have come out from his show now.
And Jewish donors, they have a lot of explaining to do, a lot of decoupling to do, because Jewish donors have been the #1 funding mechanism of radical, open border, neoliberal, quasi-Marxist policies, cultural institutions, and nonprofits. This is a beast created by secular Jews. And now it's coming for Jews, and they're like, what on earth happened? And it's not just the colleges. It's the nonprofits, it's the movies, it's Hollywood, it's all of it. It's like time for you guys to wake up and say no more, draw a line in the sand. I don't care if you hate me. And Jewish donors, they have a lot of explaining to do, a lot of decoupling to do, because Jewish donors have been the number.
Okay. Yeah, he's right. See, a lot of this came out, and a lot of us really do think that probably the Israelis took this guy out, you know? It's like, there's nothing we can really do about it because we have no intelligence services. We can't, you know, I mean, we can't, what can I say? I wonder what that is. Oh, that's terrible. Yeah, I was around a lot of people today. I'm just looking at some video clips coming out of Ukraine. And what's happened in Ukraine is really tragic, to be honest, you know? Just completely tragic. And it could have been stopped if you stopped Zelensky, stopped the Jews, these Jewish supremacists who took over the country under the guise of Maidan, you know? And it's a shame. It's actually what's happened to those people. But, you know, the real issue for us guys is we got to just not allow it to come to our lands, you know? And obviously with Jews calling for prison terms for speech, for hanging banners, they plan to bring it here. It's just one step. They don't have a reverse. So the step is obviously to yeah, crazy what they do. Yeah, crazy. Yeah, right now I don't have a lot of feeds in my X feed regarding anything really, you know, which is actually good. Normally it's just filled with pro-Israel stuff. We talked about this story earlier where the parliament in the United Kingdom actually voted against opening an investigation into the child rape scandal, saying it could harm the image of Muslim communities. Again, who cares if it harms their image? You know what I mean? Who cares? This is the UK. What's more important, the UK community or the Muslim community? And again, obviously, it's the let's see here.
I didn't know that. It is Valentine's Day. And 81 years ago today was when literally a cowardice act of a monstrous act. It's just monstrously cowardice. They bombed Dresden on February the 14th, 81 years ago today. It resulted in the death of more German civilians than the total number of Jews who died during the alleged Holocaust. I mean, literally, in one bombing run, they killed more Germans than all the Jews died in all of the Holocaust that they claim. So imagine that, and then you got all these clowns, knuckleheads like Ted Cruz, those who hate Israel hate America. Excuse me, you son. It's literally excuse us. Excuse us. You're not even American. You're Canadian. All right? I believe he's Canadian. I don't think he's American. I believe he's Canadian. And it's like, it just amazes me. Communism in Canada has actually arrived, and you can tell that by this clip here. Basically, if you believe in traditional...
Well, radicalization in general quite often will show by people isolating themselves and changing their behavior, like changing what they're saying on a subject, like becoming more extremist. And if someone was very... believed in equal gender rights, but all of a sudden are leaning towards traditional values, and that might be a sign that they're becoming more extremist. Well, radicalization in general.
Let me talk about the immigration issue. Obviously, I'm not xenophobic. Obviously, I'm not racist by any stretch of the imagination. I vociferously protest, not just protest, I scoff at Jewish groups, Jewish punks, trying to project such images onto people like myself. Not just me, but people like myself. I believe in equal rights. I believe every single Palestinian has a right to return to their homeland. And if you don't believe in that right, I do believe you're a racist, xenophobic, hate-filled monster. So unless you allow the Palestinians to return, you are an extremist. And I get the fact that you are a hate-filled monster of the worst variety of humankind. And I haven't met too many Jews that actually believe in the right of return. An interesting conversation with Chinese this week. We were talking about children. And I was talking to a young lady. She's about 29. And she had her cousin with her. And she kept calling her cousin her brother. And yet her brother was, the mother was her aunt. And I'm like getting confused, And what I learned was that in China, because of the one-child policy, oftentimes the cousins were considered your brothers or sisters, because you could never have a brother or a sister. So to this woman, her cousin is her brother. She looks at him affectionately as her brother. And her cousin, her aunt, is the mother of her brother, but that's her brother. So they actually don't look at him as his cousin. They look at him as the aunt. Or I'm sorry, the brother. I think you get where I'm going with that. So we talked about the fact that, China is trying to change their policy and allow more children because their demographics are starting to implode. And believe me, population implosion can happen very, very fast. And I said, nowadays, you women, you really don't want children. She says, no, I love babies. I want children. And I'm like, okay, let's see, type of thing. But she said, what's very strange is that even in China now, we are importing Indians. I didn't know that. Did you know that? Yeah, she said it's so hard now to get factory workers to work for them in China. They're actually importing Indians now to work in the factories in China. For the same reasons as elsewhere. You can pay them cheaper, less social support, pension, vacations, etc. So you have less social support for the expatriate workers. And she had a very strange but observation here. She said that wherever the Indians are, they're destroying the culture and they're destroying basically where they are. It's like everywhere that they land, everything is getting destroyed. And this woman's not xenophobic. She's just making a casual observation. Wherever the Indians are inside of China, these areas become very run down. They become just kind of trashy. That's run down, of course. The infrastructure starts to go to hell. And it's like wherever they go, it turns to trash. And of course, you know, that's true of America and true of so many other countries equally. Not so much true here, to be honest. They have a very tough immigration policy here. But it does happen everywhere. And see, I didn't know that. I didn't know the Chinese were bringing in Indian laborers. I didn't know. And I know here we bring in a lot of Indian laborers. They're not necessarily the best workers. They're cheap. They're okay. You know what I mean? Some are better than others. But you can't, honestly, you can't get Saudis to do some of the jobs that the government wants people to do. In fact, if you run a factory, there's going to be jobs that you need to fill. And not everybody in Saudi is going to do that job, whether you like it or not. You can talk localization. You can talk onshoring work. You can talk all you want. But the fact of the matter is, a percentage of these jobs you're never going to get the Saudis to do, or at least do it even efficiently. Just not going to happen. But the issue really came about is that, you know, this woman, their family has businesses in Canada also, mainly in the eastern part, Toronto, Montreal areas. And she's saying, you know, even in Canada, it's very hard now because they're all migrants. Says we're not really doing business with Canadians anymore. It's all migrants, and it's difficult. They don't have the same level of education or quality, the attention to detail. They just don't have. In other words, everything about the migrant communities out there is a lessening of standards for the societies that are bringing them in. And that, I think, is one of the key issues that we can all start to focus on, is we're not really getting good value. You go to Google or Meta, it's all these Indians working. We're not getting great value for this. You look at Meta's product, it sucks. It actually sucks. It's just that because they're such a market dominant factor, they can get away with being a crappy product. You know, I'm trying to navigate their product, and you know, you click it, you sweep your mouse in the wrong part, and all of a sudden you get all these stories popping up about the news. Dude, I'm trying to use your computer. I don't need you to tell your little Indian guys to put this stupid button over here, so I have to get all this news feed. I'm working. This is a work machine, not for me to go read whatever you think was important because, oh, I'm Microsoft and look at me. I'm so smart. I'm going to feed you all this news. Just get the thing off of my freaking computer to begin with. Why did you put it there to begin with? But, you know, you look at what's going on with all this expatriate workers and all this, oh, they're so creative and, oh, so genius. Oy vey. I don't know what the oy vey is in Indian, but hey. Another interesting aspect about China that I didn't know. The Chinese government, according to the interviews I had this week, and I met lots of Chinese people, is they are now realizing in China the degree to Jewish infiltration in America. They are actually grasping the infiltration of Jewish power inside of America. In other words, before they never really thought of it. It was America, right? And America's America. But now they're looking at what's going on in America and they're saying, hey, what's wrong with America isn't the old school Americans, because the new school Americans are not Americans. We don't need to worry about them. They can't compete with us anyways. The old Americans could compete with us for sure. But with the Jewish infiltration of America, they're basically sidelining the old school Americans. And you know what's interesting? The Chinese actually don't want to see the old school Americans sidelined. In other words, they're a very industrious, hardworking people. But you know what? They actually, many of them appreciated what white America was and created equally. They would come to America and it was white. They enjoyed it. They enjoyed what we had created. They would take back some of the ideas to their country. But at the end of the day, there wasn't an animosity towards us. It was a reverence to the fact that we had accomplished so much by ourselves. They didn't have an issue with us. But then the politics start to come in, and then they start to realize all this infiltration, all that's wrong with America is because of Jews. Now, where does this go on the diplomatic stage? First, I was told straight up, based on my views, because I lay it out like I'm doing a radio show, they said, actually, the Communist Party would like you. And, they tried to sell this idea about how in China, they're not free. I'm like, what do you mean you're not free? I've been there many times. I said, where aren't you free? You've got everything you need. What do you want to do? You want to what do you really want? You got cheap food, cheap energy, great infrastructure. You could travel. Your passport is good. You have a very good life. You don't have to work hard. Everything for your country is going great. Are there problems in your country? Of course there are, but overall it's managed really good. And it's you, the Chinese, who are managing it. Why do you need some foreign influence to come in here and say, oh, democracy, and start to make problems on the side when right now you are a unified nation? Now, I'm not saying that communism is great, but I'm saying it's unifying. As it was told to me in the show this week, we Chinese are like one people going in one direction. We Chinese are like one people going in one direction. Now, is that bad for us on the nationalist side? Are we supposed to vilify that? Because as a nationalist, isn't that what we nationalists want? One country that is uniquely united going in a single direction? Do we want all of this chaos? When you look at the success of National Socialist Germany, was this one country going in 15 different directions, or was it one country going in a single direction? And we had reporters on the field in China or in Germany in the 1930s, and they would say, frankly, I've never seen a happier country of any country in the world. And the same is holding true largely in China. They're saying, no, we're so happy. When I travel, my money is good. When I need problems, yeah, the government's corrupt, and I'm like, yeah, all governments are mafia. And they're trying to solve it. For instance, I came across a story this week about a Chinese that were close to the military. Now, I'm married, long divorced, of course, but married to the great-granddaughter of the chairman of the Reserve Board for Chiang Kai-shek. That's a true story. So I was in via Mary with the very elites of the country. So I got a lot of stories. I got a lot of information, a lot of interesting insights back in the day. When the GATT negotiators came to negotiate the GATT treaty, I knew what the GATT was. I was already geopolitically attuned back in those days. I'm the one that picked the Chinese negotiators up at the airport. There wasn't even a Chinese delegation to pick up their own people to do the GATT negotiation with the Americans. They came into LAX and Dennis picked them up and took them to their airport in Monterey Park, or not to the airport, to their apartment in Monterey Park. I did it. I went out, bought them some beer. We drank. We had some beer. We didn't talk politics. We didn't talk about too much. We just talked about, how are you? Long time. We haven't seen each other in a while. This type of stuff. Nice to see you again. Just chat. Regular guy chat. That was it. Today, the country's much different. There's a lot of corruption that's been attacked. And when you had those relations back in the day, the way business would have been done in China was a lot of drinking, a lot of girls, frankly, a lot of use of private residences where certain deals would be made. And when Xi Jinping, that's reality. I'm just telling you how it worked. And it's changed, not entirely, but it's changed. And so when Xi Jinping came in, he's an engineer. He's actually an engineer by trade.
And he knew what was going on. He knows how the game was played. He was working at that level at one time. So they put a stop to it. Talked to one person. She said that in her network, after the anti-corruption scandals came and the arrest started, one person actually committed suicide in her network for what he had been doing. So we understand the game at a very good level. We get how people are bought off. We get people how they're bribed. We don't play it because it's not in our world. But we get it. We understand it in ways that most people don't. So if you go to like Iran, poor people, immigrants, once again, immigrants, Afghanis, pay them $500, huge money for them, and they'll give you all the intel you want. The only issue for you is how do you get the information out secure so you don't lose your intelligence asset. This is what's going on. So in our world, we have what? Children disappearing every day, every 40 seconds, a child disappears. Every 40 seconds. And Bonnie's going to be up there and say, oh, the Dow's at 50. Why are we talking about Epstein? Okay, who's getting paid to not speak about these things? Who's getting paid to not investigate? Who's getting paid to just put things on the side and just ignore it all? Here's a great question, and it's going out to a Jewish guy, right? And it's something I've been saying all along.
They think I want genocide for the whites. And that was taken from a clip I had said.
Well, I mean, you could clear this now. Would it be better if England was governed by English people or non-English people?
English people or non-English people? They think I want genocide.
Okay, so that's a Jewish guy. See, you asked them straight up. Would England be better governed by British people or by non-Jew? See what I mean? Jews will tell us day in and day out how we need a homeland for ourselves. We need self-determination. Here's a guy sitting in the UK. He's basically calling for the genocide of British people. And then they say, okay, I didn't really mean it. That's not what I said. The presenter asked him straight up, okay, would it be better for the British to govern themselves? The guy's like rocking in his, Yeah, F you, dude. That's my attitude at this stage. Listen, we're in a crisis situation. Literally, you're in a crisis situation. I can't use that one. I would like to use that clip, but it's not good enough. Kash Patel, for instance. He's not even quote-unquote American in traditional standards. Okay, you can call him American. But it's a case, again, we're not governed by quote-unquote Western heritage Americans. Does he put his marbles in with the American people?
We need America to wake up and prioritize Israel, and bring home Israelis, and make sure we stand by our number one ally in Israel. We need America to wake up and prioritize.
We have an Indian guy telling that the white population of America needs to prioritize Israel over the American people. And they want to consider it racist. Well, it's like, first of all, well, I don't see you as an American, and you don't talk to me like an American. Who the hell are you to come to us to tell us we put Israel first? All right, everybody. I guess that's the show, man. That was fast. All right. We're going to keep going. We're going to do a bonus segment here on Rumble. So join us at Rumble at rumble.com, Inside the Eye Live. Thank you for listening over at, Revolution Radio. I'm going to take a quick break. We'll be back right after this.